Well, hello, my silky friends. Yeah, I just had a conversation with Lowlight, and guess what? I did not realize that the Delphi Hulu special was tonight. Of course, I didn't. So I realized that's probably where you all are, and here I am talking about Lizzie. But look, I had to talk about Lizzie because it is the 133rd anniversary of the you know whats that they blamed on her. And yes, I am kicking it old school with Silky Southern tonight. If y'all go way back to my early days, you know that I started this channel not with this. I started this channel with wearing the hats and telling vintage tales before I got all wrapped up in Delphi and all that kind of stuff. So I understand y'all will be on the replay. Let me put the comments up. I know that's where you're going to be looking at Delphi, but please, when you get done, I hope you join me in on Lizzie. I know a lot of you are not familiar with the case, or maybe you are and you don't care, or you just I don't know, you think she's guilty and you don't think that I can convince you otherwise. Oh, but if that's what you think, you would be wrong because I can convince you that she is innocent. Innocent. Yeah. Say hello, Sachi. Hello. Um, Nothing like having a little cat rear end up in your screen and I can't see anything. Hope y'all are doing good tonight. I might have to get my glasses on for some of this. And I'm sorry, when she walks by, it causes my focus to go in and out. Let me say hello to the people who are here. Cyber Warrior, good to see you. I am good. Look, y'all, the last 3 months have been really an ever loving nightmare for me. Um, some good, some bad. Y'all know I got to time to write. Um, but that's about it. The rest of my life is just kind of crazy. Hey, Carla Ann, good to see you. How are you doing? Um, let's see, what are you saying? The evidence says Lizzie is innocent. Yes, it does. It does. And I've always said that, even though I couldn't prove it until now. Let's see. Hello, Cryptex. How are you? I caught a little bit of your show with Low Light. What was I doing? I was doing something and I saw that y'all were live and I hopped in. Um, and I watched a few minutes of it. This cat, she is just determined she's going to be the center of attention. But yeah, I watched a little of y'all and he cracks me up. I'll just tell you, it's like he's always going to be starting something. I love it though. I'm here for it. I'm here for the drama. I don't start the drama usually, but I'm here for it. Let's see. Um, Texas Patty. I've followed Lizzie for years, seen docs, read articles. I never saw guilt with her. Yeah. And that is the thing. Y'all know, I had no idea until I started really um, writing and really trying to market. And I was looking at stuff with Lizzie and new articles and stuff like that. And I didn't realize that Netflix is going to be filming a new documentary called Monster. You know, they did Jeffrey Dahmer and all that. Their next one is supposed to be about Lizzie Borden. And I'm like, part of me just went, ugh, if there has ever been someone so misrepresented, then there has never been anybody more misrepresented than Lizzie, I don't think, because, you know, let's just face it, she didn't have the look that screamed innocence. She didn't have the personality that screamed innocence necessarily. I mean, she didn't scream guilty either, but she didn't exactly fit the mold. I think it would have been a lot easier. And she had a lot of things going wrong for her, and that was just bad publicity. And from the very get-go, the police didn't like her, and so she was just not the kind of person that, I mean, yes, Victorian society. Okay, look, we're gonna have to stop this. Okay, we can't do this. Victorian society really, um, they wanted to, like, half of them, maybe majority at one time, they were like, okay, a woman couldn't do this, and they're right. But at the same time, you had a lot of people that were uncomfortable in Lizzie's presence, and with a lot of ideas and things that she represented. And so for those, even though they said, yeah, we don't think she's guilty, she was guilty in the court of public opinion and has been for 133 years. So we're going to talk a lot of stuff, and whatever you know about Lizzie, like, put it in the comments because I want to hear it. I love it. Even if you think she's guilty, even if you want to put some stuff in there. I usually am in this series, I'm just doing videos. I'm not going live. But y'all know I love to go live and I love to hear opinions. Hello, Samantha. Good to see you. I hope you are doing well. I know it's been crazy for you too. Bless your heart. Bless our hearts. And then there's a couple other people, Samantha, you wouldn't believe, that reached out to me, and like, it's people have been going through it this summer. It ain't just me and you. Yes, especially I think people were afraid of her, especially after she had money. And before. So I'm going to start this. Actually, let me get over here. I'm going to start this with, and this is, shameless plug for what I've written. But let me just say this. I am very proud of what I've written. But this is the book. But this is the thing. Let's talk a little bit about society. And let me go back to just me for a second before we get into the murder scene. And I haven't covered this yet. And I start the book out this way because I feel like to look at her situation, okay, encompassing all of Lizzie, it is easy for us to pull apart and say, okay, Lizzie, what the narrative says is Lizzie wanted her dad's money. Lizzie was, she was unhappy with her state in life. She wanted this, all the things that we hear, and we're going to go through all that, all the myths. There were a lot of myths, and we look at it as if she was a miserable person, but that's really not true. And so I start the book because when I was kicking Silky Southern old style like I am tonight, when I would tell a story, I would always research the culture at the time because it is vitally important to the story, y'all. If you were to tell a story about what a crime or something that happened in 2025, you would have to include things like social media, TikTok, X, Facebook. You would have to talk about news and web sleuths and all these kind of things. All right, just the culture that we live in, cell phones and geofencing, all of the things that come into play in a crime and in society, how we live, how we act. And so when you are looking at crimes in the past, you have to do the same thing. You have to look at the culture. And unfortunately, in 1892, culture for women, y'all, ladies, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And, we like to look at the old movies and we're like, oh, what a genteel life. Yeah, it was crap. If you were a woman, it was crap. And that has been for a long, long time. And I know one of the episodes, I've still got a bunch of episodes to do. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is I've never been a feminist, okay? I've never been a feminist. I've never thought one minute in my life that I am a feminist. But after really studying this case and the bias against her and the situation that she was in life, I'm like, oh God, you know what? I think I'm a feminist all of a sudden. Like, I think this has happened because of what I realized people, women, have had to go through. And just in studying this one case, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot imagine having to live like this. So let's talk about culture of women. And, a lot of women had a problem with Lizzie because she was unmarried. And if you were a lower class poor woman in 1892, your future, it was very bleak. Okay, because, well, if you were a poor woman, period, it was bleak. But if you were unmarried, and had no prospects of a husband, and Lizzie was 32 years old, you were going to die in poverty, and really just become the target, I guess. The Not just target, but you're going to be open prey for any man who wanted to do anything he wanted with you. Now, women, the only choice you had as a woman, basically, was to get married and produce kids, because otherwise you were going to be a servant in somebody's house. And even at that, you were still expected to do something else, but you could work for somebody else until literally the day you died. You weren't going to retire. You weren't, you wasn't Social Security. You weren't going to retire at 65. You were going to work at the man's house for somebody until you dropped dead, or until you had kids who were working and could take care of you, and you could finally stop, and you could live with them. But there was no recourse. Women couldn't just go out and get jobs. Okay. It wasn't like you could be a seamstress if you were talented at doing that, but you really couldn't do anything else. You could be a governess, you could be a nurse, you know. But in my profession, if you were a nurse, you were pretty much looked at as a prostitute. And there's a whole history with nurses, and it's pretty much true. You couldn't look at a naked man. All right. And that's what we do. If you want to see what's going on with somebody, you got to take the clothes off and look at them, right? Male, female, whatever. Well, genteel women didn't do that. So, I mean, how are you going to bandage somebody if you have clothes on? You can't. So, genteel women were not nurses. The only people that were willing to treat, especially war victims or anybody, were the prostitutes. So prostitutes ended up being nurses. Thus, this is how we ended up with very convoluted, society. So that was not even it wasn't it was kind of a sordid profession. Okay. It was not like actually being a prostitute, but like you weren't going to be in good society being a nurse in 1892. It was coming up some, but you weren't going to be a lady. Okay. Victorian ladies were not nurses. You could help and volunteer, but you weren't going to actually put your hands on a naked man and actually do something. Okay. So as a Victorian woman, you only had one prospect, and that is to get married. Unless, okay, well, and let's hold on. Let's go into that. So you were stuck with whatever you married, and you didn't know, because courting, you really didn't get to know anybody. Anybody can court you and be nice for a while. How many times have you even thought have known somebody, and you all of a sudden they're not at all what you thought they were? It's happened to me a million times, and I'm sure it has to you too. You don't know. But you found yourself married, and having to produce kids, and whatever your husband turned out to be, if it was abusive or whatever, well, you're stuck. So, and then there's childbirth. Very, very good chance you're going to die giving birth. Okay. Healthcare sucked. giving birth usually was a death sentence. And you were stuck doing whatever your husband said. You had no rights to property. You couldn't vote. You had no right to an opinion. You just did whatever your husband said and you kept quiet and raised the kids. That was it. Now, the only possible way out of this horrible situation, you didn't marry for love. You just married whoever offered. You know, like your dad would pick the best person, the best situation, the best job, you know, whatever. Somebody, and you just hope somebody would ask you to marry him because otherwise you were going to be destitute. Once your parents died, you know, that was it. Where's the money coming from? Nowhere. That's why a lot of people ended up being prostitutes. If something happened to their parents, like they couldn't get a job. So in Lizzie's case, I'm sure Lizzie looked around and she's like, oh, I don't want to be married. Lizzie was very strong-minded in a time when that wasn't really acceptable. Okay. She fit in enough, but she was very, people that knew her said she did speak her mind. And that was kind of frowned upon. She kept it in check, but she still was very assertive. Let's just put it that way. So she didn't really conform. She really didn't care. And she didn't have to because she wasn't stuck having to get married. Because Andrew, actually, Emma, her older sister, she didn't marry either. I'm pretty sure both of them looked around and thought, you know, if I get married, my dad's rich. If I get married, everything that I inherit is going to go to this chump, whoever I get stuck with. And I'm going to be like just raising kids if I don't die. And he's going to get everything and tell me what to do with it and whether I can or can't do something. And I think both of these women, they were educated enough to say, I don't want any part of that. So they were quite satisfied living at home. It's not that Lizzie didn't have any prospects or Emma. They didn't want any, you know. Well, and that's on down. There were some rumors about Lizzie and a possible elopement. But I think Lizzie did not want to be married. And to be honest with you, if I lived in 1892 and my daddy was rich, I'm going to tell you something. I'd feel the same dang way. I'd be looking around saying, you know, I'm good. I can own property as long as I'm not married. What? Yeah, I can own property if I'm not married. But if I'm married, it goes to him. I'm good. Daddy's going to leave me something. And I'll do what I want with it. Do y'all understand? So this is the culture that Lizzie is in. She's got a nice setup. She doesn't need to, I mean, yes, she would like for Andrew to be a little more uppity. Sure she would. But she knows. She's got it good comparatively to society, and she's got a place in society. She wasn't like people want to say that Lizzie was, you know, she was an outcast and, you know, Andrew it was an embarrassment. No, Lizzie was a big part of the church. Now, she didn't, because Andrew, his house and everything was right close to the business district. It wasn't a show place. It wasn't big where you could have, you know, a big parlor and have a bunch of people over and entertain, which I'm sure Lizzie would have liked to have done. However, she found her place in society by something else. She got involved in the church. Andrew was very much I was going to say a teetotaler, which is true, but that's not the word I'm looking for. What is it? You know, when you don't drink. Anyway, he was very much one of those. And she, you know, was also involved in the church and she, you know, upheld those standards. So, you know, drinking parties wasn't something that she was going to do anyway. And I've said this over and over. Lizzie was a daddy's girl. You can believe it or not, but culture, The fact that she gave him her ring, she was very concerned about a lot of his business dealings. Look, Lizzie loved her dad. She was not going to harm her dad. And that was the whole source that kept her world going. I'm going to stop for just a second and see what y'all are saying. And say hello to some of y'all. Oh, wow, I'm behind a lot. Let's see here. Have I seen Lizzie's mock trial? No, I have not. I've read the trial transcripts though. Yes. Hello, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. You love the hat, Texas Patty. Yes, absolutely. It was scandalous for women to be educated at all back then. Yes, it was. And as a matter of fact, Andrew sent Emma to college, which was just a flagrant. I mean, it wasn't a waste of money, but in the eyes of society, it was a waste of money because, come on, she wasn't going to use that degree. This is they say he was a skinflint, and he was in business, but he wasn't with his daughters. Um, he was very generous with his daughters. Yes, Texas Patty, very rough for women. Yes, it was very scandalous, Samantha, for a woman to know and understand business practices. And there were times that Lizzie actually went to the bank with her dad, and there were times that she was involved kind of on the outsides. I mean, it's not like he went to her for business advice, but she did know about some of his dealings, and it worried her. Vicky Shipman, hello. How are you? Texas Patty, in my opinion, most of what we read about this case is from a man's point of view. Yes, exactly. Very different times socially. Absolutely. Lizzie, I think if she had been 5'3", 110 pounds versus 5'3", close to 200 pounds, a quick smile versus the mean mug, I think it would have made a difference. Yeah, I think it would have. I also think that it was, I mean, we'll look at her and her features, although I personally, I think she's very pretty, and especially when she was younger and of marriageable age, I think she was attractive. But that is by today's standards, okay? By Victorian standards, probably not. Let's see. Let me keep going. All right, so that's the society that Lizzie found herself in. Now remember, and this is something that I will bring up in as we get further into the series. But remember, I'm going to touch on this slightly because we're going to go deeper into this. But Victorian women were very much schooled in being even tempered, okay? Because remember, what could happen if you were the kind of woman who was out of control? If you defied your husband or your dad or whoever was in control of you, they could literally put you in an insane asylum. They could use the word hysteria, which, if you have ever seen the movie Hysteria, it's like, I watched it because it was a period piece. And I thought, I don't know what I thought I was watching. I really didn't. I'm into this movie and I'm like, huh? What? If you haven't watched the movie Hysteria, go watch it. It is, the thing of it is it's based on a true story. Okay. The characters are not real, but the whole principle and what actually happens and how things came to be is true. And I am like, oh my God, what a thing. What a piece of history that I did not know. But you could literally be institutionalized and be labeled as a hysterical woman and be treated for hysteria, which, by the way, ladies, was not a bad treatment. It's not a bad treatment, but it is bizarre. Um, but you could be put away. Okay. So acting out, and people very much scrutinized Lizzie for not acting what they thought was appropriately, as in screaming and carrying on and flailing. And I'm like, well, what was she supposed to do? Because if she had done that, people would have said she's hysterical. She's out of her mind. She must have done it. Look at the way she's acting. She probably did do it. Let's put her in the loony bin. I mean, I think she did with, plus she was drugged, so there was that. I think she did what a sane woman with any brains would do, especially being, more or less sedated. She kept her wits about her. And I think that was important. But because men didn't think that she acted appropriately and some women didn't, she couldn't, it wouldn't have mattered either way. Plus, a lot of what was said about the way that she acted was untrue, as you see in the transcripts, and as I've done with some myth busting. It is right there in the testimony. She did act appropriately, and she did grieve, and she was upset, and she did cry. But that's not the story that they told, okay? Because it didn't go with the narrative. But anyway, so let's look at some of this. I'm going to go through this really quick. Like I said, I'm doing this simply because it is the anniversary, August 4th, 1892. 133 years ago. Now, this is the actual picture of the Borden house in 1892, and it looks very much like this today. This house, if you see the color that's around it right here in the border, this is about the color that the Borden house is today. In this picture, it was also green. Of course, it's a black and white picture, so you can't see that. Strangely enough, the house had been painted earlier that year. It was green. It was a lighter green. It was kind of a drab. People did say it was a drab green, so I'm like, maybe it was a light olive green or something like that. I don't hate olives, so if you don't know, this is a colorized version of Lizzie. But as you can see, Lizzie, this is closer to the time of the crime. And as you can see, she has a little bit of, they said she had really big hands. Like, y'all remember Seinfeld? She had man hands. Okay. She wasn't feminine. That is one of the big, I guess, critiques of Lizzie, is they didn't feel that she really looked that feminine. And remember, this is Victorian era, and if you will look at the advertisements, even like the Coca-Cola advertisements and stuff of this period, you will see very thin eyebrows, very small features. You know what I'm saying? That kind of look, very small lips. That's just kind of the Victorian look. That was the dream. Lizzie, although I think she's very attractive. Again, by 2025 standards, the hairstyle, not 2025, but you put her in a good hairstyle, I think she's pretty. But again, this is at around 32, somewhere close to this. This is a picture. This is, I think, my very favorite picture of Lizzie, and this is when she was younger. I don't know if she was still a teenager or early 20s. Again, I think I don't see why any man of that age would have not thought she was attractive, except for the fact that she was very outspoken and she was very opinionated. So if you were just a man looking for a wife. Wait, did I put this up here where you can see? Yeah. I would say she was probably not suitable, you know, for maybe what they were looking for. Now, if you don't know about the crime, this is Abby and Andrew Borden. Andrew is Libby's dad. Abby is her stepmom, not her mom. Her mom is in this picture. She's on the right-hand side. This is Sarah Morse Borden. And this is Lizzie when she's about 2, 3, somewhere around in there. This is shortly before Sarah died. Now, on the left, you see Emma. This is Lizzie's older sister. And Emma was about 10 years older than Lizzie. So while Lizzie was, I think, 4 years old when Andrew remarried to Abby, Emma was already 14. Like, she was almost grown, and she was not a big fan of Abby. As a matter of fact, Sarah had made Emma promise. She knew she was dying. She had made Emma promise that at all costs that she would raise and take care of Lizzie. So in Emma's mind, Lizzie was her child. After Sarah died, that was her baby. And she raised Lizzie, and she most likely did not want to foster a good relationship between Lizzie and Abby. Okay. That was her baby. And because she didn't care that much for Abby, it kind of spilled over onto Lizzie. Now, people like to say that the girls did not call Abby mother, but that's not true. Now, Emma did not. She never did. But Lizzie did call her mother. She called her mother up until about 5 years before the murders. Some other players in here, we've got Bridget Sullivan. This is the maid that was in the house. And if you've been watching the series, you know I like to call him Dirty John. John Morse is the brother, and you can see the strong resemblance here, the brother of Sarah Morse Borden. So you can see, yeah, they really, okay, Sachi, come on. Now, all right, let me get you down from here. I can't see with a tail in my face. On the morning of August 4th, there's a lot to this story, but on the morning of August 4th, you had Emma was away visiting people, so she wasn't in the house. Uncle John had unexpectedly, which is very odd, come the day before. And so you had down to breakfast, you had Abby and John, and Andrew and Bridget, of course, was serving breakfast. Lizzie did not come down until after Uncle John had left, which I think is very significant, as I think I told you in the last video I did. Somewhere after 9 o'clock, Andrew left. John Morse had left. Abby was making up the bedroom where John Morse had slept, and then usually she would close the door. But she went back upstairs. She had already made the bed, but she went back up to change the pillowcases. And then nobody saw her. Okay. They assumed. Lizzie said she got a note, and that the note said, it was delivered by a little boy or messenger somewhere in town. And she knew that Abby said she'd gotten a note for a sick friend, something like that, and she was going out. Lizzie and Abby weren't particularly close, so she just knew she was going out. And she said Abby had said to her earlier in the morning that she was going to go out to the market, which she usually did. And, what did she want for supper? And Lizzie's like, I'm really sick. I don't want any meat. And so Abby said, okay. Nothing at all unusual. Well, later on, Andrew comes back around 20 to 11. He talks with Lizzie. He talks with Bridget. Now, on the ins during the time that Abby goes out, or they think that she's out, um, Bridget is inside and outside washing the windows. Let me go back to where I can see y'all. Abby had asked her to wash the windows, which I hit the wrong thing. Some people think that it is a horrible, horrible thing that she did. It's like it was so hot. Why did she do that? Um, it really it wasn't. First of all, it wasn't that hot. And Abby, even if you didn't like her, Abby was not a mean spirited person when it came to Bridget, especially. So it wasn't that horrible of a thing, which is leads me to a lot of questions, and we haven't even begun to cover Bridget in this. Anyway, Bridget's in and out of the house. Lizzie is up and down the stairs. She's trying to iron. She's doing this. She's doing that. Andrew comes home. Bridget goes upstairs to lay down. Lizzie goes out to the barn. She comes back in. Andrew's dead. He has been bludgeoned. She screams. Bridget goes out. The whole neighborhood comes. In the meantime, Lizzie's like, hey, somebody called. Mrs. Borden went out. Please, somebody get Miss Borden. And strangely enough, Bridget won't go up the stairs. And this is something that I feel like people don't really focus on. Bridget says, I am not going up the stairs. Why wouldn't you go up the stairs? If you didn't think anything was wrong, why would you be afraid to go up the stairs? There's like 10,000 people in the yard and in the house. What are you afraid of? So the neighbor, Mrs. Churchill, she's like, come on, I'll go with you. Let's go up the stairs. We'll look for her. Because Lizzie kept saying, look, she said several times, I think I heard somebody. I heard somebody come in. I think it was Mrs. Borden. I think she's upstairs. Go get her. As if she wouldn't notice that there's all these people. But Lizzie's like, somebody go. I think she's here. So they go up the stairs and they find her body. Of course, they're screaming, coming back down, and now there are 2 murders. Now, during this time, the only people in the house would have been Lizzie and Bridget. Well, according to the police. And that we can honestly pin down and say these 2 were definitely there. Lizzie is immediately that same day put on morphine to calm her down. And because the doctor feels that she is in a state, even though everybody says she's very calm, she obviously wasn't. And he starts her on morphine, which she takes throughout the inquest. Uncle John, the police say, have an airtight alibi. So all of Lizzie's testimony at the inquest is she doesn't know where she's at. Like, she's at the bar in there, and she's I ate some pears. I was doing this. I was doing that. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the shock, um, the shock of it all happening that day, immediately being given to me. I mean, calculating out the milligrams of morphine. I'm like, I don't know. I'd be talking out of my head. I'm just telling you. I'd be telling you. I went to France or something. There's no telling what I'd be saying. Um, all right, but this is just a quick recap. All right, let me see what y'all are saying. Hey, Lowlight, you're here. Let's see. Hey, Lowlight, if you want to join me, I'll send you a link if you're still here. I know it was a long time ago. I've just been yapping. Hey, Roberta. Let's see. Jenny, they weren't very kind to the maid. They called her by their previous maid's name. That is true, but I'll tell you what I also found out about that. Because I thought, first of all, Abby, I know this. They called her Maggie. But Oops, I got out of focus. But I did find this in my research, which I thought was interesting. One person said that that Bridget was a name that they didn't call, that they actually did like Bridget, but they didn't call her Bridget, not because they were lazy, not because they didn't want to learn her name, but because Bridget had a bad connotation for an Irish person. Now, I don't know. I guess I thought, every Irish person would be a Maggie, but, and that was the connotation and that was bad. But they said Bridget was kind of like we would say a Karen, you know, that's like, so if your name's Karen, so they actually called, now this is according to one source. So I did not put it in the book because I'm like, I don't know, but that is the reason that they gave. But they asked during the trial, they asked Bridget, was she offended that they called her Maggie? And she said, no, not at all. She wasn't. So I have to assume that for whatever reason they did call her Maggie, she didn't mind. Um, um, I've always wondered if Uncle John didn't threaten the maid Bridget into staying silent about seeing him there and the timing. Yeah, there's a lot of theories about Bridget, and I'll tell you what. Um, I'll tell you something that is really weird, and I do put this in the book, and this will be in one of the installments. I find it very strange because even in trial, now I understand Lizzie more not being a little bit more unclear about the events of that morning because of the morphine, but Bridget was not on any drugs. Bridget, even a year later during the trial, she keeps changing her story. Like she's like, well, she doesn't really change her story as much as she's like, I don't know, I can't remember, I can't remember. I'm like, how do you not remember? Because this is me, and I don't know, maybe y'all are the same. But for me, I might not remember. Okay. Like if I'm just going about a normal day, I'm not thinking about stuff that much. But then an event happens. Like, whoa, something happens that's like splits that time in half. And so as you're thinking about that day, all of a sudden you start really honing in on, okay, what happens like now that day? I'm going to start piecing it together, like things that I would not have thought about. Like this morning, I'd have to really stop and think about what order I did stuff in. What did I eat for breakfast? What did I do? But if I had a reason to recall, later in the day, the events, I would absolutely you know, be like, oh my gosh, okay, let me stop and think. What did I do? What happened? But even all this time later, with Bridget having time to think about this, she can give no clear answer. All we know is she gets up, she sees everybody for breakfast. At some point, she goes out in the yard and pukes. But then she starts washing windows and she has a conversation with the maid from next door. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. She said she stayed outside puking for about 15 minutes. This is her timeline. And she said it was after, I can't remember if it was before or after John left. I think it might have been before. Anyway, but again, she's sketchy about the timeline. But I'm just going to say, if I spend 15 minutes puking, I am literally not going to be washing windows, and I'm not going to feel like talking to nobody. I'm going to be like, you know what? I need to lay down for a minute. I don't know what kind of stamina Bridget had, but if I'm going to be heaving for that amount of time, I ain't going to be good for nothing for at least an hour till everything settles down. Now, the other members of the family were sick the day before, but Bridget was sick that morning. It often has made me wonder if Bridget was off on her time, and she did see Abby or did witness the murder, and she had to go outside and puke. Okay, I obviously do not believe it was Lizzie for a multitude of reasons. But if it was John, and I think it was, if she, whether she saw it happen or whether she just discovered the body and then didn't say anything, maybe she was in shock. Maybe she didn't know what to do or say. Um, Maybe that's why she didn't know how to answer the questions or what the timeline was. Maybe she had her own issues. But I just think it's very odd that you get up first thing in the morning and puke, because there's very few reasons. Um, let's see. Let's say there's only low light. There's only a few. There's only a few pictures. Do you want to come on? Literally, if you want to come on, I'll send you a link. I'm gonna go through. There are a few crime scene pictures. I'm afraid I'll get booted off YouTube, but or get a strike. But yeah, let's go. Let me go to those. And I'm gonna go through some. I'm gonna go through some of the myth busting. Let me go to some of the crime scene photos. Wait, where are they? All right, maybe this is them. Ah, there we go. I want to make these too big because this is now this one over here on the right hand side. This is Abby. Now this picture was taken after they moved the bed, and you really can't see a whole lot. There is another one of her from looking from her feet to her head. They said that the first blow was that she was facing her attacker and that she probably turned around. But here is the kicker. Back in those days, they didn't have the yellow crime scene tape. They weren't like, oh, no, let's not touch the bodies. Let's not move it till, the forensics team gets here. That's not how they did things. As a matter of fact, the doctor did not think that she was dead. They thought that she had seen Andrew and went upstairs and passed out because she was laying face down on the floor. And it wasn't, the doctor literally took her, he thought she was just, he took her head and he pulls it up. And when he pulls her head, like her hands, like everything moved, her hands, he pulls her head up, like part of her skull comes off, but she was wearing a hairpiece. So actually, it was not just her, it was like her wig and part of her skull, everything. And then as he pulls her hair up, her arms move, and then he sees the congealed stain. I gotta be careful how I say this, on the floor. And but as they're studying it, they move the bed. They because they can't even get a good picture of it because she's wedged in between the dresser, the wall, the dresser against this wall and the bed. It's not a big space in there, and so it was very difficult, really, to see. And people like to say if you're standing on the staircase, you can see. Well, you'd have to really be looking. But I just watched a video of somebody who was going up and down the staircase there. It was just a random person, their tour of the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. And I noticed as they're standing on the stairway that the way that the beds come down, and I know my bed is the same way because I have a four poster and it's got a low drop. I'm like, you know what? The way the staircase doesn't go straight. If the staircase went straight, it would be easier to see because you would be right. It would be exactly parallel, even though there's a drop there and you'd really have to look. But that staircase curves just a little bit. And as she was walking up and getting to the place where you could see, I noticed there was a curve there. And I thought, my goodness, Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right. Let me see. Hold on, baby. Let me see if I can send you a link. Um, and get back to here. Y'all hold on for just a second. Let me try to get a guest up in here. Um, hold on, trying. I've got like 1,000 tabs. I can't find my email. Where is it? There it is. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just saying. Oh wait, there we go. Let me just do a new one. I'm not good at multitasking, as y'all can see. Uh, where is my? Okay, hold on. Why can't I reply? Oh wait, there we go. Okay, let's see. Let's see if that works. Um, but yeah, so this is the problem. And the same way with Andrew. As a matter of fact, in the crime scene photo that we have with him, they said his shoes were actually off. He had taken that Lizzie had taken his shoes off, or he had taken his shoes off. And this coat that's under his head is not correct. They had moved him around too. They made it more suitable for the cameras. So I'm like, what the crap? Like, I don't know. They didn't do things as efficiently. While I'm waiting for low light, let me see what y'all are saying. Let me get back in here. Hey, Adrian, good to see you. How are you doing? Oh, I love that picture. You look so pretty. Haven't seen you in a while. I don't know if I've just missed everything. I miss a lot, so I don't know if I've missed you or if you just hadn't been on, but it's good to see you. She may have been involved, but no way she acted alone. 100% she did not act alone. Um, I don't think she may. I will say this. I will go as far as to say she may have been aware. I don't think that she was a willing participant for sure, because I don't think that she would ever have participated in anything that would have taken. You didn't get the link. Oh no. Okay, let me try this again. Um I don't think she ever would have done anything that would have taken her dad out. No way. Um, okay, let me try a whole new message. It says it's sending. Maybe I clicked off too fast. My internet's slow tonight. I don't know what it's doing out there. Okay, let's see if that one went through. I don't think she would have done anything that would have messed with her dad. What was Abby's height and weight? Abby was 5'2" and she was a little over 200 pounds. So she was, I think Lizzie was about 180. So Abby was about 20 pounds heavier. But they were very close to the same height. Um, oh, okay. Carla Ann got that for me. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, Abby was, but Lizzie was not small. What man on the train? There actually, if you study, there were so many. Honestly, there were so many possibilities of perpetrators. I personally do think it was Uncle John for all the many, many reasons I've said in the book, in the police notes, every reason. Um, I absolutely do. But let's see, hold on. Let me find a spot to put you, low light. Hold on. I'm just gonna do this. Oops, hold on. My mouse is I'm trying to let's see, I'm trying to make us about the same size. There you are. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you? It's good to see you. You know what? I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I'm tired. Oh my goodness. Come on, camera. Don't blur out on me.
I know, mine do the same thing.
Let me get a little more light on this so that I don't blur out.
There we go.
I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I've been streaming already, but I haven't talked to you in so long.
I
And I
know,
saw
right?
everybody in chat, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come in and say hi. So how you finished your book?
I did.
Oh my goodness! I hear that's like giving birth.
You what?
I hear that's like giving birth, like writing a book. You know?
I think it wasn't as bad because, well, now I there's so many things. I actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because I had so much in my head and I
Yeah.
had so many notes for so many decades. I have thought about this case and I've
Okay.
had notes in my head and then I started putting them on paper. And then when it came time to actually put it together, it was pretty much all there. And so it wasn't that bad, but already now that I've done that, I'm like, man, I need a second edition because I've got now so many things that I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about this and this would, I mean, just more. It's just more. I'm like,
Sure. Who did
I
your
should have
artwork?
slowed down.
Who wound up doing your artwork?
What, on my book?
Yeah.
Me.
You did all your wow.
I
So
did
you
everything. I
everything.
did everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I've been writing, and so I know it's. I mean, I don't know if it's difficult for you. It's not easy for me. So it's like, can you hear
It's,
me? Is everything okay?
yeah, it's a little bit low. Can
Okay.
y'all
Well,
hear?
let's crank it a
But
little bit. There we go.
yeah, I just don't want it to be low for them.
Right.
And I can't tell because y'all will have to tell me.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I see Samantha. I see Heather Brown in there. Hey, Heather Brown.
Hey
I see
there.
Paul Murphy, Dark Arts.
I know it's good to see Adrian. Okay,
Oh
Paul
yeah,
Murphy.
definitely, definitely.
If she liked fishing, and discuss what you know about Lizzie's fishing. Okay, yes, yes, she did. She did. That was very much known, Paul. She did. In fact, the friends at Marion were expecting her. She was, and again, that wasn't. Well, I guess it wasn't. It wasn't the most ladylike thing, but it wasn't unladylike either. Um, she had been to Marion fishing before. She had been out in the boat not too much earlier, like the month or two prior to that. So it wasn't unusual. The only reason that was not in Marion and she was waiting until the following Monday is because of one of her obligations at the church. She was the head of one of the things that she was like involved in so many of them, but she was actually headed this particular thing, part of it. And she felt, and I think this kind of shows her character as far as I think she was a little bit of a controlled person. She felt like they couldn't do it right without her. That she needed to be there. She needed to be responsible. She was the head of this whole mission right here. So they were meeting on a different day and she felt like she needed to be there. So she postponed and said she would go to Marion and go fishing on Monday, which of course she never did. But yeah, so there was that. But it's one
I
of
have a
those
question.
things. I think you said, low light, that I think when I put out the first one, you said what convinced you was the clothes, the dressing.
That got me too. Like when you were talking about how long it took her to get undressed. If it's like 15 minutes, and you're not covered in blood, and then you got to clean those clothes and all that stuff. So, were you ever able to track down the origin of that song? Because I mean, I heard that song when I was a kid. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whack. When
It
she
was
saw what she
just
had done, she
something,
gave her father.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it originated in Fall River with the kids. It was a jump rope, a skip song, like a jump rope song that was just
Hey,
made
Four
up by the
Pits.
kids. And by the way, every bit of that song is garbage. There's not one bit of truth
Right.
in the whole thing.
Right. So the
Not one.
kids in the town, like while she was still alive, were making up
Yeah.
this song and it was a jump rope song. That's horrendous.
Yes. And they did that. Actually, she had to endure that her whole life. Um,
Wow.
yeah, even as an old lady. And, I think that's one of the things that I admire about her. She had so much money. When she was acquitted, she could have literally left. She could have went anywhere, changed her name. She could have lived pretty much as she pleased without being harassed. But again, I think this is a testament to who she was. And when I get into the last part, there's a lot of things that happened after the trial in life that I think show her character. I think she was bound and determined that she was going to show the world who she was. She was proud, she was innocent, and I think that was one of the things. If she had been guilty, I think she would have moved away. You don't want to bring that up. Yes, there's that thing called double jeopardy, but knowing that you are guilty and having to pass that house, living in the same town as that house, and knowing it, I think you would have been more comfortable. I think she was a tough bird, and I think she was angry. I think she was angry all of her life for a lot of reasons. And I think she was not going to leave Fall River because she was just PO'd enough to stay there and make them look at her every single day, which actually turned out to be a great thing for Fall River because it put them on the map and made them very famous. Um,
Now, if I can interrupt, did she ever give any interviews? Did any newspapers or periodicals of the day speak with
nope,
her? No. So
nope.
the only thing that you have really about her is like court records, and then
The only interview she ever gave was at the end of her life, and it had nothing to do with the trial. It was a picture she allowed at Maplecroft. She allowed someone to take pictures. I don't know what's going on with this. Let
and
me.
Maplecroft is the residence that she, or the estate that she had, or what?
Yes, that is what she bought. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's funny because
Um,
it seems like in era, and I'm assuming like Victorian, clothing, and what era was she? What
yeah, Victorian.
Victorian? It's like I think of Anna Green Gables and all of that. Like they named their homes and the houses, and it's like I now we just have addresses. So that's interesting. Maplecroft. That's a beautiful name.
Yeah, she named the house that, and she was very much, she left her money to humane societies to take care of animals. She left to other places, but that was the main thing. She was very much an animal advocate, and so. But I'll tell you one interesting story that I saw, and this was from. I want to tell you, it was a newspaper clipping that's from the Facebook group. It's called Warps and Wefts. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, it talks about Lizzie, and she was very, very active in the church and had been for many, many years. So they knew her well. And when she was acquitted, she tried to go back to church, I'm sure thinking that she was going to pick up her activities. And they basically like moved away from her. shied away. She was not welcomed back. She went one time and realized that she was not going to be welcomed back at her church. Go figure, right? Church people. And like, I'm a Christian person, but I know church people. So I'm sure you do too,
That's
Josh.
sad. That's just really sad.
But
Especially since
anyway,
she was innocent, you know, and her
yeah.
killer probably. Now, does the person that you suspect did that? I'm sorry if I interrupted your story. You
No,
were
it's
going to tell a
fine.
story. Did the person that you suspect, did they live in that community? Did they continue living in that community? Did they move on?
Um, the person that I suspect was her uncle, and he lived in Dartmouth, which wasn't far away. Which he didn't have a house there. He was kind of a he was kind of a couch surfer, is what I call him. I mean, he had some money, but he always just kind of lived off people. He was a drifter. Um, he was he lived about 10 years longer. Um, and he just kind of lived his life the way he always did. Um, they never really pursued him, although it was obvious, and he was the police's first target. Like, they knew the day after that he had the motive. Um, but
And that
then
motive was
inheritance and money, what they blamed on Lizzie, because the day after, the New Bedford, I can't remember the name of the newspaper. It's the New Bedford something, Evening Standard or something like that, said that John had come into town, and he was looking into Andrew's dad had actually died 10 years before, and his estate was still in probate after all those years. And like, there was a lot of reasons for that. But John was poking around because he was Andrew's sister's brother. Okay. So still related in the family, trying to find out if he would be um, named, or if he would be able to get any of the money that maybe would have gone to Sarah being dead, if Andrew passed away. But Andrew was the executor, as he found out, and Andrew could do exactly what he wanted. So why is John Morse in town asking if he's going to get anything if Andrew dies at the sale of property? It's crazy. Like, dude, what are you doing here? And why do you think that you're entitled to any of Andrew? You're not even related to him. Your sister was married to him, but it's Andrew's dad. And then you have to think, he was not who he presented himself to be. Okay. He did do business with Andrew, but he was nowhere in the same playing field as Andrew as far as money goes. And he was very shady. Um, he told a lot of lies, a lot of lies. His
mm.
alibi was crap, complete crap, crumbled. All they had to do is look at their own notes and look at the testimony. They would have seen that his alibi wouldn't hold water.
Well, why
Um,
didn't they not pull the trigger? Why did they move on to someone else?
my guess is because on the first day, two policemen, Harrington and Doherty, in their notes, they say that they didn't think that Lizzie was acting appropriately. She was not showing the grief that they expected. And, quote, one of them wrote in his police notes, "I don't like that girl," and told the other officer, who told the main guy that was leading the. And so that it kind of became like they decided on day number one that they didn't like her. She wasn't acting right. And so when she started kind of fumbling with what she was doing, even though they had a witness. There was a witness, completely unrelated, just knew the family and had delivered stuff there, was going by at the time of the murder and actually saw Lizzie outside coming in from the barn, so he could place her outside where she said she was. They just they didn't even bring him in for testimony. It's written in there.
Yeah.
It's a written testimony, but it's not part of court, and or at least that I could find. And they're just like, yeah, we don't like her. We think she's guilty. And then all these other people, you have all these other ones coming and saying stuff that has really no basis. But it's kind of like, how it's a lot of gossip, and that's something else that was in that culture. Is there were it was mind blowing to me when I started reading the Fall River newspaper. They printed things that were literally gossip as
Sure.
stories.
Wow. That's what I'm trying to get away from doing. So
Yeah,
I
it's
I could have written for that newspaper just like that. Like in February, I would have been a star writer. That's great.
I know it was like the fake news, but they were like printing it like new. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and yeah, it was insane. So I mean, I'm like, yeah. So that's they kind of went. The newspaper is saying, hey, the police are looking at John Morse, and this is why, because he's all involved in this inheritance. And then, but the police are like, yeah, in spite of what the probate records say, and we think Lizzie did it. And they stayed with that, in spite of the fact that they had to throw out all the inquest testimony because she was on drugs, because the doctor was just like feeding her morphine, multiple times a
Sure.
day. Like she couldn't find her butt with both hands. I mean, she really
Wow.
couldn't.
So I mean, if she's getting fed morphine like that, I mean, she probably because it's very easy to develop dependency. So I wonder how long if she stayed on that for her whole life or if she got off of that.
No, no, it was immediately. It was started the day of. The first thing that he did is,
Oh my
immediately she
goodness.
has a shock. So he gives her bromocaffeine, which is the first thing that Dr. Bowen gave her for her headache. And then later that day, after the caffeine, he starts with the morphine that evening.
Oh,
And
she
he
was rocked out
continues
of her
that.
mind.
Yeah. He continues that through the funeral, through the next few days, through the funeral, and through the whole next week at the inquest. And I it was only, I think it was only like a couple of weeks, and then she didn't have it anymore, and there's no record that she ever had a problem with it after that. Um, but yeah, she was very much. So then they took all this testimony, and they're like, you said this and you said that, and they're like, why did you say that? And like literally, she doesn't know, because I couldn't tell you what I said if I was on morphine. No idea. You know.
Yeah, it's just scary. And so she went through a trial, and then after they failed to convict, they just didn't follow up, pursue any other.
Well, I think at that point they felt like, I think if at that point, if the police had gone back and looked at their notes again, they would have realized that John Morse did not have an alibi. As a matter of fact, he had the opportunity, he had the motive, and they would have realized that they really screwed up badly. And now what are they going to do? Say, oh, well, we spent all this money prosecuting Lizzie, and really, um, come to find out, what are you going to, like, you're going to be embarrassed no matter what. I think it's very interesting that George Robinson, who is one of the attorneys on her case, um, he truly, and even said so in later life, fully believed that she was innocent the whole time. He never doubted. Years and years after, it didn't matter, what he thought, but he said, yeah, according to his notes, he never doubted that she was innocent. And nor do I, because first of all, it was absolutely impossible. She did not kill Andrew. She could not have killed Andrew in the time frame. So if you take out that, then you either have to say, yes, she was colluding with someone else. And there is no way you're going to convince me that she would have allowed someone to kill her dad. So then, did she know? And she was afraid for all of the many reasons that I gave earlier, talking about culture and like, what are you going to do? Did she know? I don't think she was colluding with anybody. It is quite possible that she did know um, who did it, but then she's a woman. Who is going to believe a woman in 1892 over a respectable businessman, her Uncle John, who they think he's respectable. And you've got a jury of men. The only
Yeah.
hope she really has is, I'm a woman. I'm frail. Yeah.
Well, from what I saw from the picture is that he was laying off on one side, and he's kind of tilted over and it looks like someone who is right-handed.
Well,
If they
he
were
was
swinging an
laying down.
axe. What?
He was laying down. He was taking a nap.
Oh, he was sleeping when all that went down. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he was asleep, but he had leaned over. He was on the couch and he'd leaned over, put something under his head, and he was resting because the whole family had not been feeling well. And so he came home, put his head down. His shoes were actually off, but so they feel like somebody came from like the direction of the I don't know if it would be like there's kind of two doors that feed into there, like the kitchen and the it's not he was in the parlor, it's like the kitchen and the dining room.
In the parlor. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a parlor. I have a parlor too. I love
I
my
believe
parlor.
that. I believe you have a parlor.
I do.
And a conservatory.
Not a conservatory, but
Somebody in chat, Mass, hi Mass. I don't know if I've met you before. It says Alfred Hitchcock's show had Emma as the killer and Lizzie covered for her. I didn't know that Alfred Hitchcock did a.
I remember seeing that. Yeah,
Lizzie
some people
Borden.
have said, some people have said, "Hey, Four Pits." Yeah, you would. Good to see you. Yeah, some people have said that Emma snuck back and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Emma had it in her. Emma also was 41 at the time, so she was considerably older. She was much thinner. Even at and here's something. Let me put the media up there, and I'm going to add because I'm going to show you all these layers. Let me add you to this.
There we go.
Hey, let's try to make us the same size. Wait, I'm going to have to put this up here. All right. So, wait, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Let me go to the next one. Okay, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Let me move this over.
Yeah, that's not an assassin's outfit there.
Yeah, and
good
actually,
night.
this is this is such a small
layers.
Like this is not all the layers, okay? This does not show putting on the bustle. But if you're going from left to right, there's a huge time gap between that first picture and the second, because if you notice in the first one, she doesn't have her socks, her stockings, and her shoes on. Now you have to put those on before you can put your corset, which she's got on the second one. Your shoes, remember, they don't lace. They have nothing that laces, like ties like a tennis shoe. Everything is hooks and buttons. And you have, if women, if you've ever tried to put on a fancy garment, you have like a hook that you have to do it. These little crazy buttons that some people, some of y'all ladies probably have worn something like that. A hook will have to hook your shoes. You can't do it with your fingers. And then, of course, the stockings, because once you get that corset on, you can't breathe. You can't bend over. You can't breathe. That corset's going to take about 15 minutes just by itself. You have to hook it and lace it. And you have to suck it up. Lizzie did not have a maid to do this for her. Even if Bridget had been doing it for her, even if they were in collusion, it still would have taken an enormous amount of time to suck somebody in there. And this is part of the Victorian outfit. And had she not been dressed appropriately, the neighbors and everybody that came in would have noticed, if she was
Sure.
out of. So there's a big gap. And then what else you don't see this dress doesn't really show the bustle, but the bustle is the part that goes around the waist. It's that big butt pad, you know?
Big old butt pad.
Yeah. That's before the BBLs. You know, this
Yeah.
was the Victorian BBL. But you could have several bustles and you had to tie them and then you'd put petticoats. You might have 3 or 4 sets of petticoats on the bustles. Like the bigger the bustle, the bigger the BBL,
Yeah.
whatever.
So I
So
wonder though if there was, if you didn't have a maid, if you would leave some of this all tied up and you would actually pop it over your head and can pull it kind of pull it down over you. Is that something that you could
you
do?
know, because I don't know if you probably can't see it in here. This corset doesn't go over the the bosom; it goes under. And
Okay, so
so
basically no. I mean, you
what?
couldn't even step in. So you couldn't even step into it then?
No,
Okay.
no. Yeah, it couldn't be pulled over the head. It was literally in between the hips and under the bust line.
Yeah.
And so, because it was taken and it would suck your ribs, is making your ribs and waistline as tiny as possible.
Yeah. It's what I
And
like on a woman, just real
yeah,
tight ribs.
yeah.
I don't want you to be able to breathe, It's
Well, that is something I didn't even think of, which is crazy because when I was talking to my son, who, by the way, I have to tell you this, um, it's hilarious because I asked you like a couple of months ago, like what of the Myers Briggs, what are you? You said you're an ENTP. My
yes.
son, my oldest son, is an ENTP, which I kind of figured that you were because you remind me of him so much. Like you
Really?
really, really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, personality
Okay.
wise, I'm like, my God. Um,
Yep.
and I was like, this is crazy. But when I was talking to him about this book, I'm like, he doesn't know anything, so I'm telling him a little bit about the story. He's already on the computer. He's on Chat GPT. Like
Yeah.
he's doing the
He's
whole
knee
thing
deep. Yes, I know. I
while
know right
while
where
I'm
he
trying
is.
to
Yeah.
tell him. Yes, he's going at it. And so he brings
Yeah.
up something, and I'm telling him the first point is that it couldn't happen with Victorian. My light's crazy. Um, it couldn't happen with Victorian clothes. And so actually this is part of why I need a second edition. He says to me, he says, yeah, and the not just the clothes, he said, but the air capacity, the lung capacity. And I was like, I really didn't even think about that. I was just thinking about the time it would take, but the lung capacity to do 18 whacks
You're not running any
with a hatchet.
marathons. Sure.
Yeah. Could
Yeah.
you do that in a corset? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I've been in many a corset. They are the most uncomfortable things that only like a demon from hell decided women should be in that. It is horrible. So,
Yeah. Hey,
but
Mina.
yeah, that's why I thought you and my son just alike, just
It's
alike.
funny if he's got 100 new hobbies every year. And when you tell your friends or family that you're into something new, they just stop listening. Like they don't even care anymore because it may be there next week. It might not be. It's just
No, right? Um, but yeah, okay. So let me go back to I just
there you
keep
go.
hitting the wrong thing all the
Jenny
time.
says she's an INT. What is an INFJ? INTJ? What is that?
What is this? Who said this?
Jenny. She's an INFJ.
Oh, thank you. I hadn't even got down there. Thank you, Ninja Warrior. Aw, thank you. I love
Wow.
hats. I really do. I'm a little bit claustrophobic. I can't keep them on for long unless I'm doing a story. I'm trying to find. Oh, Jenny's Carla Aunt. Look. Oh my gosh, y'all! I'm an INFJ too.
There you go.
How crazy is that? Yeah. I don't know. I only took the Myers Briggs test because my son made me. And then he's like, we're really compatible. I'm like, okay.
I had never, I hadn't taken it, until I was reading some Carl Jung, and somebody said that like there was something about Carl Jung to do with that. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. And then when I took it, my mind was blown because I'd never taken a personality test that really kind of got me. And that was just, it was, yeah.
I know. It's like, oh, yeah, you nailed me. You nailed it. Like, yeah, I didn't know I could be explained so well. But you know what? I'm really, really close. I am an INFJ most of the time, um, about almost always. But a couple of times in my life, in particular situations, I will test because I'm really close with INFP. Because I do have that element of magical la la.
Magical thinking. Hey, look.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So I do, but most of the time I'm firmly rooted in J. You just never know. But
Right on.
they're very close. It's not like it's high on J. It's very, very close.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Um, let's see. All right. So where are we? Okay. Let me go back to. Let me find the media and let's not do the wrong thing this time because apparently I don't know what I'm doing today. Um,
There we go.
yeah, there we go. So then, outside of this, all the layers are closed. She had 15 minutes, y'all. 15 minutes to, and this is where it always hung me on this case. For 100% sure, Lizzie did not kill Andrew because she had 15 minutes to undress, and the prosecution, which I think this is ridiculous. The prosecution says, okay, well, because they knew it was a problem too. They said, you know how she did it? She was naked. She walked into that room naked and then she, chopped away and then she cleaned up real quick and she put her clothes on. Well, first, sir, you do not understand how long it takes for a Victorian woman to put her clothes back on, or to clean up. But secondly, you're talking about 15 minutes. That means that right when Bridget and Andrew, because the three of them, Lizzie, Andrew, and Bridget, are all together. Andrew lays down, Bridget goes upstairs, and Lizzie decides to go out to the barn. That means at that precise moment, Lizzie had to be naked as a plucked bird in the parlor. And you're telling me nobody noticed this and thought it was odd? That it's like, what kind of story is that, prosecution? That is ludicrous.
Well, it's the only one that works. It
Well,
was
yeah.
it was what I had thought, like, okay, maybe, but if she's running around the house and she's seen in the barn, nah.
Well, in 15 minutes, you can only barely get Victorian clothes off.
Now, did
Much
anybody see John coming to and from the house that day?
Nobody saw John, no. Um, but then again, there were a lot of opportunities. And here's, I think, another misconception because people seem to think that that house was on a quiet street, like you would see and hear everything. That house was like a block or two from the main downtown area. There were people. I mean, this is Big Fall River. This is the business district. That is why Andrew lived there because all of his businesses, and he would walk to work. And so you had horses and buggies going by. You had people walking up and down the streets. It was busy. I'm like, you couldn't hear or see, you wouldn't even notice. The newspapers described John as being, basically he looked like a farmer. He was tall, he had a beard, he looked like a farmer. You wouldn't notice somebody like that,
Right.
you know. So was he there? I mean, they saw a lot of strange looking people that day that did stand out. But when did John come back? He had a full hour, as I show in a lot of this, where his whole alibi falls apart. He has a whole hour to come and go. So was he
Now,
hiding out? Uh huh.
Oh, now, like, so it takes at least 15 minutes for a woman to get dressed
Uh huh.
or undressed, whatever. What about a guy back in Victorian times?
Well, a guy wouldn't take that long, but a guy also would be able to wear an overcoat that would be, see, there, a lot of people say that Lizzie wore a what they call a gossamer, which is like a raincoat or a. I looked up. This is something that I wanted to know before I put this out there. Um, were there any raincoats that were actually water repellent at that time? No, they did have raincoats, but they didn't have the technology that we have that makes things repellent. All they did was they basically soaked up the water so that it didn't ruin your clothes. So, um, it wasn't, there was absolutely nothing water repellent at the time. Of course, they searched the house very, very well. They never found anything with blood on it. But, then they're saying, well, there's this lightweight thing called a gossamer. So I looked that up. That's even worse. It's silk. It's a
Oh,
very
wow.
lightweight
Yeah,
thing. Like, that's not going to keep any liquid off of you. Come on.
sure.
And
Well, it sounds to me like whoever they got in and got out is what it sounds
right.
like to me.
They did. And I mean, now there is a guy that wrote a book that said that, which is true, that John Morse was living with a guy in Dartmouth who was a butcher. So could he have had, he says he didn't bring any luggage, like nothing with him. And could he have had like a butcher's apron? He could have. I don't know how big they were. Could he have stuck it in a pocket or a bag or something? I think he could have. I don't know that that's how he did it, but it's possible. Um, something years after, um, a very interesting thing they found in a house. I think it was like a street or two over. A woman was doing something in the basement of her house. I don't know. There was some kind of, I don't know if it was remodeling, whatever. It was several years after Lizzie was acquitted. She goes down there and she finds a newspaper, and she, it's an odd thing. Like, she knows it doesn't belong to her. Whatever, she is going through her stuff. She opens it and she finds a bloody axe or hatchet, a bloody hatchet. And she's like, what the crap? This isn't ours. I don't know. It's obviously been there for quite some time. So she takes it, thinking, of course, the Borden murders happened a couple of years before. They never found the murder weapon. So she takes it to the police. Of course, Bing, I mean, I swear, they could have worked in Delphi. All right. They should. I think the ancestors moved, this is, they,
Yeah,
all the kinfolk
yeah,
moved to Delphi.
yeah.
They look at this axe, but what do? They throw the paper away. Nobody knows what the date of that paper was. Wouldn't that be the first thing you want to know?
This is the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. So nobody knows. Was it August 4th or 3rd or anywhere close to
A
that time?
newspaper of all things.
Yeah, dated. It's crazy. So was that, was that the person's the getaway? I think the most likely culprit was John Morse. Although, like I said, there were a lot of people, and people have also had, I think some valid um, suspects. Possibly, had the police looked at it. I just don't see the motive in anybody else like I do Morse, because at the end of the day, you have Morse who, um, he's already poking around. He's trying to find out if he's going to get any money if Andrew dies. Because in the event of their deaths, back then, people didn't just give money to their kids. They did tend to disperse it amongst the family, brothers, sisters, whatever. So, did he think that Sarah would have gotten something, you know, had she been alive? So Abby had to die first, because you have to take out that whole, if Abby died first, then everything that she would have inherited would be null and void. So they couldn't make any claims. And then you have to look at this. The only other thing that would stand between Uncle John, who was getting older and didn't have a whole lot of money, but he did have a lot of very shady business practices, and who really knows what he did. There's a lot to that. But he's now about 60 years old, and you got to think he's wondering how he's going to. He never got married. He didn't have a house. He didn't own anything. And so he's got to be looking at how to set himself up for the rest of his life. Now, his brother in law is very, very wealthy. How could he get his hands on some of that and retire comfortably? Because there is no Social Security. Um, if Andrew and Abby are dead, all that stands between him and Andrew's money is Emma and Lizzie. Well, Lizzie doesn't like him, and I show that in a bunch of ways. Lizzie is not his pal. Emma does write to him. Now, if he can get Lizzie out of the way, then Emma is older. She's more frail. She's more docile. It would be very easy for Uncle John to come in and say, I'll take care of you. I'll be your protector. I'm going to be the man of the house, and, I'll stay here and help you out, as would be expected
You don't like
of.
Uncle John, I can tell.
I don't like Uncle John. No, I don't, for a lot of reasons. And I don't think Lizzie didn't either.
Yeah.
And, Lizzie was the kind of person that she was like, I don't need a man around the house. Just like,
Now,
So
were there
she,
and
what?
were there any other murders that occurred in Fall River after this or even before this that were
There was,
anything like that?
there were actually a lot. One was an axe murder, but I think they decided it was there were a lot of Portuguese people, which is, it's kind of like the same situation that we have now, immigrants, and a lot of people of Fall River didn't like the Portuguese because there were a lot of them are criminals, and a lot of them were just nice people trying to, make a living. But um I think they blamed it on a Portuguese situation that had nothing to do with the Bordens. They were actually afraid that the jury was going to find out about the axe murder because the jury had just convened against Lizzie. The trial just started when this news broke
S-
of
So there
the.
was another axe murder at the same time.
Well, it was like a year later
Oh, okay.
or like 9 months later. But
Well,
yeah, they were
still.
afraid that the jury was going to find out about it.
Has anybody come out with a book? Of course, they've come out with a book saying this was a serial killer. Somebody had to write a serial killer book about this then.
About Lizzie?
About the murders. Nobody has come out and said it was a result of a serial killer. I mean, if you got 3 murders at least with an axe within a year, that sounds.
Well, nobody can actually can piece any of them together. Like there's a random this and that, and yes, there were people that, um, there was one book written that said that Andrew had an illegitimate son named William Borden, who's the one that came in and killed them. Which, of course, is possible, but I feel like if that was the truth, then Lizzie would have said something,
Yeah.
unless she honestly didn't see anybody. Um, and then she wouldn't have. Um, I
Well, I
just,
think the fact that she stayed,
what?
I think the fact that she stayed in the town says a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to tell you this story. This tells me a lot too. She, I told you the church, basically shunned her when she tried to go back. So as it happened, Andrew had a lot of property, and one of the whatever groups, I can't even think of the word. I'm trying, how the church has many different benevolence programs. One of those things that she used to be a part of met in one of Andrew's buildings. And so when they wouldn't let her back in the church, several years had passed, and the lease on the building came up again. And Lizzie, she wouldn't renew it. She had control of it. She wouldn't renew it, and she made the move. And I feel like the reason that she did that, look, I could see me doing that. I really could. I'd be like, I feel like the reason is because she was a friend to them. She worked at that church for years and years and years. They knew her. They knew her day in, day out in every situation. She taught Sunday school. She was a part of all these committees. And then to turn around and say, we think that you're guilty, like I would be saying, dude, you know me. You've served with me all these years, and you really think I'm psychotic? You want to see
Yeah.
psychotic? I want to show you psychotic. That would be me. Let me show you now. I would be so mad. I think I
Somebody
would do
clip
the same
that.
thing. I would be like, yeah, you want me to move out of Fall River? I'm fixing to stay. Oh, your lease is up? You need my help? Oh, well, it sucks to be you, don't it?
Yeah. Sure.
I think because if you're
Hmm.
guilty, I think you would say, you know what? I'm going to show because I know I'm guilty. I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to pretend to be innocent. I'm going to try to pretend to be a good person and show you, oh, I would never kill my parents. I would never do anything to harm anybody. Of course, I'm renewing your lease. But an innocent person that's really mad because they know that you should know better, I just feel like they'd be saying, you know what? I'm ticked off and I ain't going to get over this.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That tracks.
And so I feel like that is one of the very much a telltale sign that Lizzie was innocent. Um I think she was just really mad. And I think in her own way, after
Mm.
all of the years of listening to the kids and their little silly rhymes and all of the stuff, I think to a degree she got used to the notoriety and all of the attention. It's like it's not really the attention you want, but it's like, hey,
No.
at least they'll remember me.
I can't imagine going through the grieving process of losing family members in such a terrible way and at the same time being the suspect.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's I don't feel like she was all warm and fuzzy with Abby, but I don't think she hated her. I think she got aggravated. I think it was a normal relationship with a stepmother that maybe you're not it's not the best relationship. It's sometimes good, sometimes bad. They had been on a not as friendly thing for a few years because of some stuff that Andrew did and I but you have to I don't think it was ever enough that she would consider picking up an axe and, doing that. That Abby never did anything that bad to her. And I don't think that I mean, I think that they were cordial enough. It's like you don't have to be crazy about somebody and really even like them that much, but that don't mean you're going to kill them.
Sure, murder's a big step.
Yeah, you'd
It's a
have
big
to
step.
yeah, exactly. I mean, people have done far worse to me and they're still walking around. Some of them by the grace of God. Especially
Yeah.
the ex-husband. I mean, by the grace of God, he's still
Haven't
walking
killed anybody
around.
yet. Yeah.
So, but there you go. There is so much to this story, really. But
So
at
you
the end
feel
of
have
the
you already started writing your second manuscript or
my
your
second
second
edition,
edition? Yeah.
no, it's still rolling around in my head, but
So the second edition, is this like a part two or is this just an expanded version of the first one? What's the
yeah,
difference between a second book and a second edition?
I think it's just going to be second edition and I'm just going to be adding and I feel like it's so soon. I but things like lung capacity is really important. And it's
Yeah.
something I need to study because that's something else I was studying. Okay, so in my head, I ruled out, well, not just in my head, but I ruled out Lizzie could not have killed Andrew. Okay, not possible. But then I went back and I'm like, well, she could have. She could have killed Abby. But did she? And then I came across, then that's when I started thinking about um, just the human body. I was like, okay, let me think about this. How does I don't know. I just started getting in my nursey senses. I'm like, what happens? Let's talk about physiologically what happens to someone when they do this, and you're going to have a huge adrenaline spike. When you have a huge adrenaline spike, you're going to have a huge crash. You can't help it. You can't stop it. And you can't have that and not show symptoms, not show signs. So I started studying the length of time, like what it would take to get into this state, to wield a hatchet 18 times, and what the time would be that you would, and what your symptoms would be. Um, what we call EPS is like, you're shaking and stuff like that. It gets very technical. So I looked at studies of that, and basically she would have been full blown into adrenaline crash when Andrew came home. So when Andrew came home and it was her and Bridget and Andrew, she would have been crashing out. And they definitely would have known something was wrong with her had she done that. So, unless she's a psychopath, which I don't think she was, because if she was, they would have definitely known that. The church would have known that long before, people who knew her. Um,
Right.
so, so
Well, I
there
think a
you
lot of
go.
the just a lot of what you told me, the lack of the weapon, they never found the murder weapon. She's unable to get dressed and undressed. The adrenaline crash for sure, but seeing, somebody would see her, hiding the weapon. There would be blood all over the house. There would be blood all over her.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just don't buy it. I can't believe that they actually charged the lady. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much to it. And then, like I said, I don't think physiologically she could have not an acted normal. And I don't think I know that physically she couldn't have. And so then when I came to that conclusion of proving that she couldn't have done it, that's when I started looking at, okay, so who did do it? And it literally didn't take any time to crack John Morse's alibi wide open, to the point of not just questioning it, but finding in the police notes premeditation. Okay, because let
So
me let me throw.
have you flushed that out? Have you done a stream where you flush out his alibi and why it's all not
I haven't done a
copacetic?
stream. Let me find this though. No, this is his alibi right here. That I now I've done videos, but I haven't done a stream. I mean, I could talk about this forever. Like, I really could.
I,
But let me show you this. Okay, let me make this a little bit bigger so we just see this part. This right here, my dog and cat thought I had lost my mind because, let me see if I can.
they know you pretty well.
They do, they do, and they were just staring at me like, "What is wrong with you?" Because I'm like, I had been hours and hours reading through transcript files, reading through police notes and testimony. I was in testimony, and I came across this. And when I came across this, I literally pushed myself back from the computer and I went, oh, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And they're
Yeah.
staring at me like, Mom, what's up? What's wrong with you?
Right. I've solved it.
And this is why okay. Yeah, this was premeditation.
All right.
Okay. So this is George Seaver is a policeman. These are his notes. Now, remember, John Morse came over on Wednesday. The murders happened on Thursday. He wasn't invited. He just showed up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Early Thursday morning, blah blah blah. Marshall Hilliard, he's one of the ones that didn't like Lizzie. Also, anyway, he had they were doing an interview with Frederick Eddy and Alfred Johnson, who were employed on. This is at Swansea. This is another place that Andrew Borden um, is his farm at Swansea. So Mr. Eddy for 16 years and Johnson for 9 worked for Mr. Borden. So Frederick Eddy made the following statement. This is the thing. John Morse came over to this house Wednesday evening, August 3rd, between 7 and 8 o'clock. He drove a horse and top buggy and said it was a stable team. He came to the house and brought a rattan basket, took out 3 pears, which is kind of odd because Lizzie and John both said they were eating pears, and laid on the table and said he brought them over from the Borden house, which actually proves they were from the Borden house. He said Mr. Borden sent him over, blah, 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 everybody's sick. Okay, keep on going down. He said, I said to him, this is John Moore, stopped at Mr. Vinicum's. Then I said to him, after he got his eggs, how about the oxen? So they're talking business. And he says, I am going back to see Mr. Borden and think we will make arrangements to get them back over on Saturday. Again, talking about oxen. So again, normal stuff. Mr. Moore stayed here perhaps 10 or 15 minutes. Since hearing of the murder, it has seemed to me singular coincidence that he should have come over that night for the eggs, for had he not, I should have taken the train and gone to Mr. Borden's Thursday morning, arriving at the house about 11:15 or 11. Okay, Andrew Borden was killed at 11 o'clock. And he's sitting here. Okay, so Mr. Eddy is telling. Remember, these are farm hands. They've been working for Mr. Borden. Mr. Borden's dead. To me, he's trying to say something without losing his job. Okay, because he doesn't know what's going to happen. Like everything's up in the air. Andrew's dead. But he says if Mr. Morse had not come over here, Uncle John, what the heck is he doing going all the way to Swansea to get the eggs? What was it your business? This man delivers eggs every Thursday. But you knew that, didn't you, Uncle John? Because the murder had to be committed somewhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock. But if he always delivers the eggs on Thursday and you get them on Wednesday, then you know nobody's going to be coming to the house on Thursday between that time.
He's
You see
setting
what I'm
up the
saying?
scene. I
Premeditated.
think you're right. I think John is a dirty murderer. That's what I think.
See, when I saw that, I'm like, that is it. That is what the proof that I need. Not only do I have proof that he wasn't where he said he was, his alibi is crap, but that is premeditation. He came for the eggs because he knew.
Yeah.
And Mr. Eddy, I feel like he also knew, but he couldn't come out and say it because Uncle John is a prominent businessman. That's Andrew's brother-in-law. You can't say that. And I mean, like, you might disappear. You might be fired. You don't know. And then it says, okay, he goes on to say that he's seen axes and hatchets at Mr. Borden's. He also talks about sharpening one. And then I just thought this was interesting. It says he tells him exactly where, because they can't find the murder weapon. And
now, does this guy have an alibi?
yeah, I mean, this guy is at the at Swansea Farm. He's working there.
Okay.
And then Alfred Johnson also talks about the hatchet and axes, and he's talking about that they're always kept in a certain place. I feel like really at the end of the day, both of these guys are trying to give clues about what happens, about the murder weapons and John Morse.
Sounds that
because
way.
Yeah, and I think, and it's right there in George Seaver's notes. I'm like, come on. Did you not read your own notes? Did you not notice that John Morse went over there the night before? Who the heck goes all the way to Swansea to get some eggs?
What is the distance?
I don't know. He said he went
Yeah.
over to Mr. Vinicum's to have dinner. That's fine, whatever. But
Right.
really, just out of the goodness of your heart, you're going to go get the eggs too. Come on, you have people for that. I mean, that's their job. They deliver them every week.
There you go. Wow. They didn't even have. Yeah. So we went from groceries always being delivered to we went to pick up our groceries. Now we're having them delivered again. So
Yeah. So it was just a one off. Plus, and here's another thing that I think about Lizzie. Okay, so let's say for the heck of it, you're planning to off your parents. But then maybe you even got a plan. Maybe you're going to do it on Thursday. But then all of a sudden, Wednesday, Uncle John shows up. Well, you got to change your plans, okay? Let's do it next week
right.
because now you don't know when John's going to be coming and going.
Yeah.
Like he could come right back right in the middle of all this. You know, he's never there, so why don't we just do it tomorrow? You know, a different day.
It sounds premeditated, even if it wasn't John. Just to the lack of the murder weapon, the lack of any evidence. Wow.
Yeah.
It's really
So I'm like,
tragic. It's sad. Like to
it
think that she
is.
lived that way her whole life. And I didn't know when I came in and asked you when that song was made up and the fact that little kids would be skipping rope and singing that song and your
Yeah.
church disowned you essentially. It's very sad.
The whole town. And she was, people like to say, oh, well, she was kind of a misfit. No, she wasn't. If you look back in Fall Rivers, the only thing they had that would be like being Instagram famous or TikTok or whatever society was the Fall River paper. And there were a lot of different times that she was mentioned in there. So even though Fall River was a big place, everybody knew who Andrew Borden's daughter Lizzie was. And there were things like she got her hand smashed in one of the dumbwaiters at the church one time, and this was a thing. And then there were rumors about her getting married. And like there were just different little things about Lizzie doing this and Lizzie doing that. So she was in society. It's like you don't put that in the paper if people don't know who you are, you know.
Right.
So she was a somebody, um, you know. So it's not like she was this person that people feel like want to portray her to be. And so when she already had this lifestyle, and when she went to trial, I'm sure she never imagined that this was going to be the outcome, and she was going to be labeled a monster. Yeah, she was acquitted, but they treated her like she was a murderer for her whole life. And, even now, you go up to, oh, which by the way, I'm so excited about this because I'm such a nerd. I made a shirt.
Oh,
I made a shirt. Justice for Lizzie.
just don't wear that to the next protest because people will take it the wrong way. But that is
I love
great.
it. I love it. So, I
Where
mean, yeah,
where's your can I ask where your book is available?
on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah, on
Wow.
Amazon.
That's a
Yeah.
thick book.
Yeah, well, and I will say this. First of all, I should have made the margins smaller, but I made the print bigger because I I'm old, and I don't like to
Right.
have to look at tiny stuff. But what I do like about this book, and I do need to change the margins and make the print smaller, but I just wanted to make it easy reading because I felt like a lot of people who study this probably would like to see it better. But all of my research is in here. Okay, so I'm gonna give you where I got it from and the pages, or sometimes there's just so much. I'm not gonna tell you the page, but I will give you the source, so you will see exactly whether there's a bunch of great websites. Um, I think I'm going to start a Substack. I've got like a blogger, um, but I'm starting a thing called the Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden Innocence Files. Um,
That's cool because seriously, I mean, up until I spoke to you, I thought Lizzie Borden was guilty. I
yeah,
just thought that for sure, like she's just known for this terrible thing. So a lot of people, not a lot, but a few of us have doing the Substack thing. I know Prof and Tara for the Fluorophore is doing. I think I heard a rumor that she might be doing one as well. So you're
really,
doing one. That's cool.
that's
We'll
cool.
all be over there.
Yeah, I didn't know you were doing one. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I know Prof is
I'm
doing
doing
one.
one on. One I'm doing one on Todd Click. I've really started on the Todd Click arrest because I think he's been retaliated against, and I can flush that out. And
Yeah,
so I'm working on that. And so Prof's there, you'll be there. I'm kind of there, and Tara's there. We'll all be there.
awesome, awesome. I'll have to. I don't even know where to start. But Prof, I was talking to Prof the other day, and he was telling me about it, and I said, oh, okay, well, maybe that is because I wanted to do a website, but it's yeah,
Well, it's you know what it's like if you want to put the time into it, and I don't, but you could really trick it out and make it nice. You could make it nice, and you're an artistic person, and I imagine that a dark arts could make one really nice too. Like people with an
yeah.
eye for that kind of thing. So yeah, and I should really do my due diligence and do better. But writing is just it's like a process, and you got to learn how to write and then learn how to edit and all of those things. It's more than I thought it would be, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but a lot of I don't know. I think you get in the swing of it. What I have to be careful of, and I had to go back and re-edit. I re-edited so many times because when I write, especially when it's like this, I tend to get very technical and dry and just like give the facts and blah blah blah, and I don't make it as entertaining as I really want it to be. And yet I don't want it to be too entertaining because it's not fiction. You know,
I have
it's
the
trying to
opposite
find that
problem.
balance. What?
I have the opposite problem. I just start writing and I roll with it. And it's very first person and it's just kind of like, yeah, I have to dial myself back big
Well, I
time.
mean, that can work though. If what you're saying is interesting, it can work, you know. I mean, I get too factsy. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm trying and it's more like a textbook and I'm like, okay, I got to stop. I got to stop and loosen up and make this more interesting. So, it's it was a work, but you know what? I'm excited. I look at it and I'm like, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I should have said this. I should have said that. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad it's in print. To be honest with
That's
you,
yeah. I mean, the fact that you got a bunch of words between two covers
yeah,
is
that's just
like,
like yay
wow.
me.
And like for me, just getting it written would be one thing, and then getting it edited would be another, and then getting it because I sometimes it's just hard for me to like sit up here and I mean how easy is it to sit in front of a camera and talk, but sometimes I just can't even be bothered to do that. Yes, I have something to say, but no, I'm not gonna do it.
I mean, yeah.
I tell
Well,
you
I
what
mean,
though, if you follow like on my YouTube, like I've got like my channel, I've started posting a couple things. I have like a little snippet on Todd Click there, and if you would read
do
that,
you?
I'd be interested in getting your feedback because you've written so much.
Um, well, yeah, I want to. I need a lot of I need a lot of maybe I need to look at Substack because I don't know. Prof was telling me it's kind of like blogging meets video meets web stuff. I'm like, I kind of need that because I used to build. I've built many a website, but I don't know what happened. I took a whole weekend trying to build one a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know. Have I just lost my mind? I can't. I'm like I can't do this. it used to be so easy, and I just couldn't do it. So I
Like, what
ended
were you
up.
doing? HTML5 or HTML, or what were you
No,
building
I
in?
would like look. I got desperate, and I'm just like, you know what? Let me just do one of these drop and drag.
Okay, like a Wix or something like
I
that,
couldn't even
right?
do that. I literally could not even do that. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's go back to Blogger. I can, and I barely did that. I don't even know. I don't
Yeah.
know what's wrong with me.
So the
Um,
Innocence files, the Lizzie Borden Innocence files.
yeah,
That's
I don't know. Let me see if I've got a link.
interesting.
I do have a link somewhere, I
So
think.
Samantha says that the Samantha with the facts as usual. The corset would have left bruises on the insides of her upper arms and her armpits. Bigger gal I know about arm flaps bruising.
Well, yeah, there's that. You're right. There's that. I mean, literally, I don't know where my little, you know,
My wings would have been all bruised up.
the,
Your
you
chat's
know,
going wild right now.
I'm just thinking about lung capacity and that strength. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like Lizzie was. Some people called Lizzie lazy. I mean, a Victorian lady really didn't do that much. Okay, it's not like she was out there washing windows. Um, but I'm like, I'm fairly active, and I'm like, I don't know if I could wield an axe, because it was 18 times. And then, like, somebody said, I don't know, I think it was in one of the comments of my videos, which I've thought about. It's not just the end, but it took skull out. Okay, so you have to get the axe out, not just put it in, but get it out 18
Yes. The
times.
axe removal.
Yeah,
Right.
that is difficult. So I mean, you're
Especially without
looking
like
at.
I mean, because the axe you're thinking of chopping wood, but like
Right.
with a human, you've got to have like the thing on it for the blood to move out, so you can get the oxygen out. You didn't have that with an axe blade, so it goes in, it's going to stick in.
I mean, that's the thing, though. All this, and then I've got a corset on. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, Lisa, I am on Substack. It's noble underscore. No, it's just noblelied.substack.com.
you're right. Yeah, the whalebone, definitely. I wanted to put that in there. I want to go back and see. Hello, Lisa.
A
I'm sorry.
whalebone.
I've been talking so much. I haven't had anybody to like highlight all this stuff.
You know, tonight is that one thing. Tonight is the Hulu special. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I did
Do you
not.
have Hulu?
I can't remember. I did, and then
Yeah.
I let it lapse because I don't watch anything. And then my daughter wanted it, and then I'm like, I don't know if I ever got it back or not. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, there's Kathy Allen is being interviewed tonight.
Oh wow.
Well, I mean, it was it's produced, so it was edited and everything. It's not a live production, but so we're gonna see and hear her for the first time tonight.
Wow. I
Yeah,
definitely want to
I got
see
my
that.
tear ducts ready because it's gonna be a
What
tough one
time is it
probably.
on?
I think midnight Eastern maybe.
Oh wow.
I know it was like 9 p.m. Pacific was when it was going to be available.
Okay.
But
Well. Mm. Well, that is
so
only part of the story, but
yeah.
there's a lot to this story. But
Well,
that's all
Carla,
I'm like, there's a ton. There's a
yeah, I
ton to
mean, you could
this.
talk about this for
Oh yeah, it's like
yeah.
Delphi. It's like Delphi. I could talk
I
about
mean,
it for a long.
if you've done a book, you could do a podcast, you could do voiceovers about it, long form, and definitely people would
Yeah,
love that. People would love it.
yeah. I was actually working on something like that, and then I thought I'm going to do a short because I busted right in on this with just doing myth busting. And I'm like, I never did the actual story. I never told people the actual. So then I'm like, you know what? I did this backwards because I'm assuming everybody knows this story. And so yesterday I thought, you know what? I'm going to do the story, the traditional narrative, as if she's guilty. And I don't know. I could not get anything to go right. I ended up filming over and over, and I couldn't. Nothing was right, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. And then I'm at work today, and I'm like, it's the anniversary. It's August 4th. I've got to do something. Like, how can I not?
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm just going to get on here and fly by the seat of my pants because that's what I do best.
You did
Maybe
fine.
not best, but I do. I do it. That's what I do.
Yeah. I was talking to a court reporter when when your email was sent, so I wasn't able to. It was pretty cool. Got to learn about transcripts and making those things, and she schooled me about all that. I want to answer Carla. She said she'd like to see me do some lives on YouTube. I've thought about it. Like, somebody has kind of talked me into it, so I'm starting to put some time into the YouTube. And
Yeah. Why don't you?
well, the other night I was live on Cryptics, and then I did like
Mm-hmm.
3 episodes with Rick Snay. So it was fun. And I enjoyed just sitting in chats, having a channel and building an audience and all of those things is just, it's hard. It's hard.
So you said your Substack is about Todd Click.
Well, how much of this do you want to talk about? Because I know that
No,
you
you
wanted
can.
to.
I have talked. We're 2 hours into Lizzie, so we can talk about something else because I will
Okay.
probably do more on Lizzie, but not tonight.
Right. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to like.
What, hijack
I
it?
don't. What?
What, hijack it?
Well, yeah. Well, I didn't want to talk about anything you didn't want to talk about.
Oh, I'm
so
fine.
I didn't know if there was any
you can
topics.
talk
okay.
about whatever.
So it is about Delphi, and it's more about why I think that the crime was not solved, and basically I believe that I just think that there was so much interference that eventually it made the crime pretty much unsolvable. And, I'll just kind of leave it at that. But my introduction to that entire process is Todd Click, who I think is suffering retaliation for, telling the truth. And, I've got a timeline that fleshes that out. I've had a lot of help. It's not like it's kind of like my work is your work and everybody else's stuff. Cause everybody's been so, I don't want to say obsessed over this, but nobody's happy about the way things went down.
Right. I think that's going to be true in the future, though. It's like when you go back and you look at everything, like if we go back in 10 years, and hopefully we're not in the same situation in 10 years, but when we go back and look at it, I think we're going to look at a lot of work, even from some of the people we don't really like, you know? And there's some that have contributed. I will say that some people have contributed greatly. I don't care for them, but they have contributed greatly in different ways. I mean, I'm talking about even 8 years ago, long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I think in the end, it's going to be somebody looking at every little thing, kind of like the Lizzie Borden case. It's like looking at everybody else's research and including the police and everything else and what actually happened here.
If you've looked at the transcripts at all, you'll learn a lot. And I agree with you. I'm catching a little bit of heat right now for the people that I'm willing to speak with and whatnot. Look, if you've done good work or have good information, why am I not going to talk to you? And at the end of the day, it's not necessarily you I'm talking to. I'm trying to talk to your chat and the people who watch you a year from now. That's who we're really trying to communicate with. I'm talking to you though, because I like talking to you. So.
I like talking to you too. But I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I've gone on other shows before, just because yeah, you're there talking to the people in chat, trying to get whatever message across, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't really want to, but then again, that's that ENTP thing. Like if tomorrow you were able to like disprove my entire theory and embarrass the heck out of me, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I would just be like moving on to the next thing. Like it's not, I don't feel like I own these ideas. I don't feel like I was the first person to come on and say it, because really, like if you look back at some of the things I'm saying, if you go all the way back, Julie Melvin
mhm.
was talking about this stuff in hushed tones
Yeah,
on surreptitiously recorded conversations. So
right. Yeah,
I'm definitely not the first, and I won't be the last for sure.
yeah. There's a lot of, and
I mean,
then there are
Adrian was talking
things,
about it too. So
right? Um, I've repeated things that I've heard that were new information to me, but I was very excited about it. Now, especially in my earlier videos, because I didn't feel like some of the creators that I found very fascinating, they weren't getting the views and they weren't getting the recognition that I felt they deserved. And so when I did those videos, and I didn't tell people they were my own idea. I'm like, "Hey, I was watching blah blah blah," you know, or I saw this on whatever. Um and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and building on somebody else's idea, and sometimes it's taking something that somebody else says and building on that, and like, huh, if that's true, then let me look at that. It sparks something, and it
right,
makes you research a whole different thing that you never would have thought about. It's again, it's a collaboration, and
sure.
in the
Well,
end,
now
go ahead.
okay. So now I've got some real concrete evidence for some things, which is that state's evidence 1 and 2, exhibit 1 and 2, were entered into evidence under seal. Those are special agent polls, interviews of two particular people, PW and BH, from the week of the murders. And they were entered into seal, and these interviews have supposedly been lost by ISP, but the FBI retained all their interviews, and they were entered into evidence in the
Wow.
pretrial hearings, July 31st to August 1st. Very interesting stuff.
Hmm.
So all that, stuff about weird stuff, me talking about the FBI still being involved. It wasn't just the FBI, it was the ATF, the marshals. It was all kinds of, federal agencies. And a lot of these things might not have even been related to the murder. It just, they were going on around the murder, and the people
Right.
who were suspected of it were being worked by these agencies. So a lot of these guys are looking kind of spooky. Kind of spooky. Yep.
There's so much I felt for several years, almost from the beginning, that if Doug Carter ever said one thing that was truthful, it was about the tentacles. And maybe even he meant to throw people off, but I can't necessarily find that he said anything else that was helpful except that.
Well, he sticks to a script. If you're going
Yes.
to do a video of like, we're going to find Doug Carter lying, I mean, he's going to be lying because he's got to stick to this script.
Yeah.
Meow Zedong has got, her information about like emergency response and that kind of thing is just really kind of opened up my mind to that kind of thing. But it was telling, it's volume 19 of the transcripts where Doug Carter has, I think it's page 170 to 174, where he takes the stand, and there's two sidebars in that period of time, and he gets pulled off the stand as quickly as possible because Andrew Baldwin is going right in on the FBI. It's like, so why did you remove him? And as soon as he asked the question, you asked the FBI to return something, didn't you? And McClellan's on it. Can we approach the bench, Judge? So I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of initiates here because everybody in chat, I know who they are. So I'm just kind of talking about this like without explaining anything. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because
Doug.
most people are here, they know Delphi. So if you
Oh
don't
yeah,
know Delphi, if you're here for the Lizzie Borden, we are talking about the Richard Allen Delphi
yes,
case.
we're
So
not.
yeah, most of y'all do know that.
Yeah, so it's we'll see. I mean, I think I'm not really gonna judge Doug Carter at this point. For I'm not really not judging anybody. I do think that the Dropbox had a lot more to do with the case than because we've all a lot of folks have just kind of moved on to this white supremacist Odinist angle, and I think the Dropbox had a lot more to do with at least the police's understanding of the murders. The Dropbox had a lot more to do with it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Um, I feel like in the end, when we can finally get all of the information of all of the stuff that has been hidden and you can put it all together, I think it's going to show a picture that's probably going to surprise us in a lot of ways. I'm constantly with the Delphi case. I'm constantly surprised at things. I'm like, what? Really?
Well, I hope
And
we get that. I hope we get the great Delphi debrief in the sky. It's
I don't know that it's going to be anytime soon. I mean,
no,
it might be
no.
after everybody in the case is, gone.
Well,
But
honestly, I think 15, 20 years from now, people will be writing books about this thing. I mean, there are already so many
yeah,
bodies. I mean, there are, I think 16, 20 bodies can really be,
yeah, I
from
don't.
Flora all the way to Clovis. I think, there's a big body count there.
I don't even know if I was counting Clovis. I know I have to go back. Prof and I did. I think it was it me and Prof? Were you weren't part of that one? Were you? We did a Delphi body count
I was
live.
not part of that one.
I can't remember. It's probably been about a year ago. I don't know. It was
That
the
sounds like
name
a
of it.
rewatch. I would watch that.
Yeah, you got to watch the chat too because people were like, boom, boom. Even things that me and Prof were like, what? And yeah, we
Yeah.
came up. We had a very large body count when it was all over. It's like, oh wow, I didn't even know it was this big.
Lisa says that we need shows just on Clovis. I think a lot of that's coming. I think
What now?
when I sent out a ton of, I think 34 people, and I just like sent it out to other creators. So there's like 34 people got my entire download on Clovis. So
Wow. See,
and I
I don't
know,
even know anything about Clovis.
yeah, it's Clovis, New Mexico. Josh Ward, one of the Wolfpack member that was beaten and left for dead 6 months before Libby and Abby's murder. He moved out of Delphi, and within 3 months of moving out of Delphi, he moved into a 600 square foot non-attached. It was like a garage that was turned into a living quarters. He was living there with 3 other people. The house caught fire. It was not survivable in seconds. And everybody died
Is
except for
this
the
on your
dog. The dog got
Substack?
out. Well, I mean, people are saying, like a couple of people threw the idea of propane my way and propane gas. So, I was going to be talking to like a fire chief, but that, he had to reschedule. So I haven't talked to him yet.
Okay. Have you done this when you say your whole download? Is this on Rumble? Is it on
Okay. So if
Substack?
you want
Where's
I
that?
mean, I'll send you the files. Basically, I sent out a link. It's a wormhole. I don't know if you're familiar with wormhole, but basically you
No.
can post up to 10 gigs and then people can download it.
Oh.
So it's the entire investigative file from the police and the fire
Oh,
fire
wait,
inspector in
wait.
Clovis.
Maybe you did already
I
send
did
it to
send that to
me.
you. I 100% sent that to you.
Okay, you did. You did. I
Yeah.
just forgot in all the insanity that my life has been. Yes,
There
you
you go.
did.
Well,
I
if you
did
need
download
another
it.
link, I'll send you another link. It's no problem.
Yeah, no, I've got it. I just forgot I've got it.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I haven't had time to investigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did because it was only going to be up like for 24 hours or something like that,
And
right?
I think Snay has been I mean I would do some content on it, and I've been learning video editing and all that, but I'm really focused on Todd Click right now. So I wanted people in the community to have it so that it could get flushed out, because it has been closed. Case closed, fire, undetermined cause.
Yeah, it sounded so shady. I don't know. Let
So
me.
Indiana.
Yes, definitely. I don't know, Joey, if you're still here. I don't know if you are. I answered this earlier in the broadcast, and my God, we've been going for a long time, so I don't know what part it was, but it has to do. Yes, I do. I do. I could take it if the DA was still alive. I could take it to his office. It has to do with probate records. So it has to do with probate, a will and probate. So go back and I just wanted to answer that question. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, if you don't make me keep you on, and you've been going for a while, so I don't want you to have to.
No, I just like I'm just going back and trying to find some stuff that, no, but when you sent me that stuff on Clovis, I was like briefly looking at it and I was like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this looks like a big stink hole."
Sure. And
I'm like,
the
how
the
deep do
people
I want to get
involved,
in this?
right?
Yeah.
That was that was why. I mean, that was when I first I had talked to a police officer,
Mm-hmm.
and I think someone else on the burner phone, and that was that when I started calling about Clovis, and then the next day I got my first death threat. So
Yeah. See.
that's when I made like my Twitter account or X account, whatever, and I just started dumping everything that I was looking at the time on that Twitter, and I just kind of stuck around with Twitter for whatever reason, and, and so as soon as I got like what I had on Clovis, I was like, all right, I'm dumping this. I don't want to just have this,
Yeah.
I
See,
don't want
I've
to be
I've
doing that.
got it. The thing is, yeah, I'm weighing this because I feel like I need to stay alive long enough to get the word out that Lizzie Borden is innocent
Yeah, of course.
before
Yeah.
I decide to, do something lethal. Like Delphi has brought me quite the threats. It is
I,
what it is.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I need some time to like, get some justice for Lizzie. Although it has been 133 years, I would like for somebody to know that.
So what
Um,
is the thing on that? Like, is there like I mean, obviously she was exonerated because she passed the trial, but is there a way of, would anyone ever like be able to, like a cold case unit, be able to put the finger on Uncle John and say this guy did it?
well, I mean, I feel like, I mean, he'll never be able to stand trial and be sentenced. So,
Right.
I mean, I feel like the evidence of his premeditation, his alibi, the alibi that isn't, they kept saying, well, it's not Uncle John because he's got an airtight alibi, and he absolutely doesn't. Like it's not even there. There's a
Yeah.
big gaping 1 hour hole. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so you add that lack of an alibi to the premeditation, to the motive, to the fact that the police were already looking at him because who the heck comes into town and is asking probate questions? Oh, by the way, if my brother-in-law dies, do I get anything?
Yeah.
You know, excuse me?
Yeah.
To me, it would have, it was such an easy case to win if you had just had the right um, perpetrator.
There we
So
go.
I know mine does the same thing. So it's like, I mean, could he ever be? I mean, he should have been he should be tried in the court of public opinion. I just you know, I know Lizzie's not going to relive her life, and to be honest with you, I don't expect that anybody is really going to want to prove her beyond a shadow of a doubt innocent, because it's cha-ching, it's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
You know, people love the documentaries, they love the mystery, they love the thought of an axe wielding, maniac who got away with it. It's a great story. Too bad it's not true. And then you have the ghost hunters. Let me tell y'all, and I'm going to tell this on my spooky channel. Let me tell you the true story. Okay. Because back in 2018, a friend of mine was doing some travel. She's a healthcare. She's not a nurse, but she's in healthcare. And she took an assignment traveling up into the Cape Cod area, which, let me just tell you, if I could pick one place to live, except for the snow, I'm not moving because of the snow. But if I could choose one place to live in the summertime forever, it would be Cape Cod. I absolutely adore it.
Okay.
And but
Cape
but
Cod
no
just
snow.
sounds nice.
I don't know. There was something, it was the weirdest thing. I was telling a coworker today. When I went up there, I felt like I was going home. I was like, why am I living? Like, why wasn't I born here? Like, to the point I'm like, was I
Interesting.
switched at birth? Like, why wasn't I raised here and born here? This is not right. I should have been. It was weird. It was weird. So anyway, and I love the South, but don't get me wrong. But I felt at home in Massachusetts,
Okay.
but it was just so weird. So anyway, um, we had a very short. I was helping her drive back from Massachusetts to Alabama, and so we had like 2.5 days to sightsee before we had to leave. So I wanted to see Martha's. I could either, the way we had it scheduled, I could either go to the Lizzie Borden house or I could go to Martha's Vineyard. I chose Martha's Vineyard because she didn't realize that Lizzie Borden's house was there. So she went on one of her days off without me after I told her. She and her daughter went. And then she said, if you want to go instead of the other place, um, I'll go, but I'm not going to go back in that house. And she says, I'll sit outside. And I'm like, that's not very much fun for you. So, but what happened to her is, she didn't really feel anything in the house. She said, it's a house. It's interesting story. Her daughter had a really weird, she came back not the same. Okay. Her daughter was about 13, 14 at the time.
Oh my.
And her daughter was not acting right. We'll just say that way. And she told her that she felt like she wanted to kill her mom, which was weird because that was not. So, she's like, I don't know what to do. Like it was a weird time. It was a weird time. She's like, I'm never going back there. Um, she definitely
So,
took something.
but did this ever go away? Did like the urge to
It
kill her mom
did.
ever? Okay.
It did. I don't
It
know
was
if
a
we
phase.
prayed over her or what, but it did
Yeah.
eventually go away. So when I went up there, I went to Martha's Vineyard and illegally jumped off Jaws Bridge in October and did some other illegal stuff. So, nothing like with
Anything you want to
substances.
admit to on camera?
I was, I may have jumped illegally and, into shark infested waters that I didn't know were shark infested
Is
at the
that a
time while I
thing?
was
Like
bleeding.
they have big sharks there too. That's like
Yeah.
it's like the setting of Jaws.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is it illegal and why did you do it?
Well, because I had to catch a bus and see
Well,
what I
naturally.
didn't really. Okay, I had to catch a bus, and I didn't. The last ferry back to the mainland was leaving Martha's Vineyard, and they wouldn't let you on the bus when you're wet. And after I jumped off the bridge, I didn't realize it was like the last weekend of the season, and you had this long line of traffic that just keeps going by, like just car after car after car. There's nowhere to put clothes on. Nowhere. It's just like a wide open beach. Just a few little, pieces of
Yeah.
grass here and there.
Right.
So I'm trying to, get the towel and try to discreetly change my clothes because I am soaking wet. And I may have just said heck with it because the bus is coming down the street. And I may have, just thrown all caution to the wind and bared my body to anybody who was in New England at that time.
I mean, hey, you did make yourself at home. You felt
And
right at home.
I may have almost gone to jail for public nudity.
Okay, because you for whatever reason, like the moment that happened, the second that happened, there would be people that were like, "Oh, true crimer."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, your face would have been.
Yeah.
That's
So, I
hilarious.
mean, but as it happened, I'm
You
sure
made it out
maybe,
without breaking out in handcuffs. Okay.
yeah. So I'm
Okay.
sure maybe pictures were taken, but I don't know about them. And I just had my hindside towards the traffic and,
Yeah.
I got on the bus. I made the ferry. So that's what was important.
That's all. That's classic. That is. Well, I'm happy that you did not get
So, anyway, you do what you
arrested.
got to do. Girl does what she's got to do. Okay. Um,
Although,
but that was my
although.
trip to Martha's Vineyard, and I have to say I don't regret 1 minute of it.
Now,
It was
were you having any mimosas or anything that was going
no,
on?
no, God, I'm allergic to alcohol.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I can't drink, but yeah, and definitely no, I am. And let me just
So
tell you
it's just one
something.
of those things you do stone cold sober that.
I am far more fun sober because when I drink, I immediately I have the reaction and I fall asleep, like I pass out. Half a beer,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So I can't drink, but I am way more fun sober, and
Wow.
just I yeah, I've always my kids know. I've always told them if I ever get arrested, because I don't mean to be naked in public, but it just seems like situations like this happen. So y'all just know if you ever get a call from jail, you already know what my charge is. Somewhere, somehow, I have been for some reason missing some of my clothes.
I'm so glad I came on tonight. This is so good. This conversation might not have happened. This is hilarious. And folks, you were here. This is it.
So, but anyway, there's that. But
Now,
yeah,
is there a statute of limitations on that
but being
for
naked.
any Massachusetts? They're hot on the trail out there in Mass. Let me tell you.
What now?
I just in Massachusetts police. They are
This
hot
has
on the
been several
trail.
years ago. I think I would.
Okay.
I don't know. I do have a picture. I do have a picture of, it's not a very flattering picture as you've come back out of the water. It was very cold in October. And as I really kind of made myself jump off the bridge because I was like, it's cold. I kept telling my friend, like, it's cold. Like, this is higher
How
than I
high
thought it
is
was going to
that?
be. What?
How high was that?
High enough that I was like, you know, this is high.
I might
This
not
is
come
higher
back.
than I thought it was. I don't know how many
Yeah.
feet it was, and finally they're like, just jump, and I made myself, and when I did, I slit my toe open and jumped into the waters that
Shark
I didn't
infested
know that there were
water.
sharks. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
They
I
knew
just
you
thought
were
that
there instantly.
yeah.
Oh man.
Well, but I didn't know. I just thought it's where they filmed the movie. I did see people fishing down there. So the current is very, very strong right there. And of course, you hit the water. It's like the first week of October and it's like cold. And so I hit the water and I'm like, oh, instantly, like my body freezes. And I'm like, okay, you got to move. You got to swim. You got to swim. So then I'm fighting the current and I finally get to the very slimy rocks that you have to crawl up, which is about the time that I realized I was bleeding. And I managed to get up on the rocks. I thought I was going to be swept out to sea there for a minute. And then as I'm climbing up, I noticed the fisherman, he pulls out a 3-foot shark. And I'm like, where I just jumped from. I'm like, the heck? I'm like, did you see that? Like, there's sharks in here. She's like, yeah. She says, why do you think they filmed it here? It's real, realism. I'm like, I didn't know I was jumping into a place with sharks. And did you know I'm bleeding? But
So at
then,
least someone came with you. Okay. So you
but
didn't jump alone.
and on my Facebook page on that one, we took a picture wet and drowned that says like illegal, like no jumping from bridge.
I don't even have a story that comes close to that.
So I'm like, yeah, but I still hadn't, done the biggest crime yet. That was just me.
Oh, actually. So there was a bigger crime. Okay.
Well, I still wasn't naked yet. I was just still wet in that one.
Oh, so you hadn't.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, so if they didn't get me for jumping off the bridge illegally,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a thing that people might do.
It is. A lot of people, that's what she said. Because I'm like, did you see the sign? She's like, oh, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
She said, they line up to do it. I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah.
Funny that we're the only ones here today. But whatever.
Right. Wow. Oh,
So,
goodness.
but yeah. All right. So there's my naked story. There's my whatever. And now I'm forever on live, admitting to being inappropriate in Massachusetts.
And you look at this. The people are encouraging you. They've got Pam just sent you a super chat for that story.
Wait, I didn't see that. Let's see.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Pam.
Thank you, Pam. My story was worth it. Let me just tell y'all something. This was this wasn't when I was like young and stupid in my 20s. This was in 2018, I think.
Oh.
2018. Yeah. And let me just say that
well
was
aware of all the potential consequences. Yep.
Yeah.
Did it
That was
anyways.
not the first time I was inappropriately clothed in public, and probably won't be the last. Just knowing me. Oh my goodness. You may not know this, but the bull shark can live in fresh water, and the great white can. Oh, wow. I don't know what kind of water's over there, honestly. I don't know if it's fresh or salty. I just know I didn't realize what a situation I had been in. I just thought the worst part was going to be jumping from a high bridge into cold water. Yeah, I didn't foresee all of the things. And I really thought my friend had better sense than to talk me into something like that. But, now that I look at hindsight, I'm like, yeah, she ain't got no better sense than I do. So I should have known.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
yeah. So there you go. You learned something about me tonight, Lolo.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you learned that I don't always use the best judgment.
Well, you just try to do what you can. Do the next right thing, I don't know. I try to do the right thing and not necessarily the legal thing, because the legal thing and the right thing are never, like how often do those two things intersect,
Yeah, that's true. They're not always the same thing. I do try to do the right thing. Unless something else is really a whole lot of fun and makes a great story. And it's not too bad of a crime. Like jumping off the bridge, that wasn't too bad of a crime. And honestly, the whole naked thing was like literally necessity. I did not have the money to stay at a hotel on Martha's Vineyard for the night. Like I had to get off that island. So you know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm losing light here. There we go.
That's okay. I've got to go to work in the morning, so I'm gonna have to get off here. But I enjoyed very much. I enjoyed very much you being in here and talking about everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope that anybody who sees this, it's like,
Don't judge Silky.
what?
I said, don't judge Silky.
You know what? I just, whatever. It is what it is. If you know me in real life, yeah, you know, you just know. The, Nothing surprises anybody. Oh, but let me tell y'all something really quick, okay?
Okay.
And I promise I'm gonna get off here. I had the most amazing thing to eat this weekend. Y'all are gonna think this is weird, and it is weird. It's called, I guess it's a chain. It's called the Yeti dog. Yeti dog.
Yeti dog.
A Yeti dog. Now
Okay.
you can get it all kind of ways. You can get it with potatoes, hot Cheetos, all this kind of stuff. But the classic Yeti dog is what I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna get the classic because this is what they're known for, right? No matter how weird, this is what I'm gonna get. It is a half mozzarella, like a big stick of mozzarella, like on a skewer, half a beef, half a beef dog, half
Yeah.
a mozzarella,
Cheese and meat,
battered.
classic combination.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so we're good. First,
Yeah.
it was a good quality beef dog and mozzarella. You can't go wrong with that. And it's battered and deep fried and rolled in Captain Crunch cereal.
So this is an American dish.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Captain
called a
Crunch.
Korean corn dog, but I
Captain
don't see any Korean.
Crunch.
They did have kimchi and stuff like that. Like they had some Korean stuff, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure that Captain Crunch isn't Korean.
Yeah, Korean food is some of my favorite food. I like Korean food. I
Um,
like anything really hot. I had Korean in the Queens once. I mean, my cheeks were sweating. It was,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, I like it not, I mean, hot. I don't like it so hot I can't taste the food. I don't mind spicy and hot. I just want to taste it. So
Yeah,
I don't.
sure. I feel you. I mean, you can hurt me, but I can eat ghost peppers. So,
Yeah, see, there's no point in that because all I taste is hot. I'm
okay.
like,
Right.
I want to taste something besides hot.
But there's an endorphin thing that happens. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it is my endorphin thing is like causing me to run around, you know.
Yeah.
That is my
Yeah.
endorphins. But I know I can't do ghost peppers, but I can do up to like habanero and stuff like that. I can do
Oh,
that.
sure. Yeah.
But I'm not quite up to the ghost peppers. Um did I bark for you one time? Are you talking oh
What?
wait, are you talking about a dog? Somebody's dog? I didn't
She
bark, did
bark
I?
for us. Not every show do you get the barks.
Yes. I was like, did I ever bark? I don't think I barked. Oh, I ate a dog. You ate it. Oh, I ate a dog. No, but I have done some stuff, so I'm just saying. I could have. All right. I'm going to call it a night, y'all. I hope you have, because I've got to get to work. Well, not right now.
And
I've got to get to sleep.
I've got that Hulu special. I am not going to miss that tonight. So,
Well, I've got to sleep, so I
yeah.
will miss it.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for hanging out, Lowlight.
No, thank you
And
for having me. I appreciate the invite. I'm glad I took it too. So,
yeah, I'm glad you did too, because I'm 100% sure that story would not have come out without you. So there you go. Thank him for the
I'm going
Massachusetts
to
story.
clip that story, people. Clip that story. It's
All right. I will see y'all later. Stay safe out there. Whatever y'all do, just stay silky. Bye bye.